Hi, welcome back guys. This is your friend, the Luffy Fanfics, back with amazing fanfiction. This is the series of What If Luffy Ate Legendary Try No My Devil Fruit. Now before starting, please give this video a like and subscribe to the channel if you want more videos like this. Now let's get into the fanfic. In a world that is divided into 4 oceans, you have the North Blue, the East Blue, the South Blue, then the West Blue, and our story takes us to an island that is located in the East Blue, and the island is called Dawn Island, and in a cozy little village we find a bar that is kinda rowdy with a 7-year-old in the middle of it all. When sudden the door was kicked in and a tall man walks in and said, "Excuse us," then after looking around he said, "So this is what passes as pirates around here, what a sorry bunch." Then as he gets to the bar, disturbing a red-haired man who was eating. A young green-haired girl walks over and said, "Hello, how can I help you?" The lead man said, "We are bandits from the mountain. We didn't come here to wreck the place. We came here for some sake. I think 10 barrels would to the trick." "Oh, I am sorry, but we just run out of sake," replied the green-haired girl. "Is that so? Well, it would appears that these pirates seem to be drinking, and I don't think it is water," the bandit said, getting a little scared of what might happen. "Well, you see, sir, they have had the last of the sake I had left in stoke." The red-haired man that was eating looks up and said, "What is that, true, Makino?" Then he turns to the bandits and said, "Well, sorry, felon, and my friends didn't notice that we drank the place dry." Then he handed the leader an unopened bottle of sake, said, "Here, you can have this if you want, it's not even open." The man took the bottle, then he smashed it over the man and said, "I am a wanted man with a bounty of 8 million berries, so 1 bottle is good enough for a nightcap, otherwise I might take it as an insult." Then man said, "Well, now that's just great, the floor is all wet." And as she picks up the broken glass bottle with Luffy helping, he said, "Sorry, Makino, do you mind getting up a couple cloths to clean this up?" Makino, who was looking over her bar, quickly runs round while saying, "Oh, you two don't have to worry about that." As Makino run round, the wanted man brought out his sword, then swung it, destroying a couple of glasses and bottles, and leaving a large, then said, "If you like cleaning that much, then you will have fun cleaning up that mess." Then as he and his group was walking out, he said, "Any place that doesn't have sake doesn't deserve our time." When the bandit group left, pirates started to laugh, and Luffy looks at the man on the floor and said, "Hey Shanks, why didn't you fight back when he smashed the bottle over you? Aren't you supposed to be pirates?" Shanks looks up at Luffy and said, "It wasn't worth it after all, it's just liquid, plus if we did fight then you precious Makino's bar would get ruined. And you wouldn't want that, do you?" Makino slaps Shanks and said, "Don't you encourage him." "Oh, you're right, I didn't think of that," Luffy said. Then he went over to his stool and sat down. Then he saw a weird look fruit and his stomach gave a low growl, and so he ate the fruit. As Shanks was cleaning up the mess, he heard munching. He looks over to Luffy and sees him munching on a fruit, then said, "There is no need to eat." In frustration, Luffy momentarily stopped eating the fruit to say, I'm just hungry." "Oh good," Shanks said, then went back to cleaning the mess, but before he started, he realized something and looked toward the kid with a shocked look, then went over to him and said, "Luffy, please tell me you didn't eat the fruit that was in that box." Luffy's eyes start to look elsewhere as he said, "No, I didn't." Shanks then holds him upside down, shaking him while saying, "Spit it out." Luffy spit it out, every last bit of the devil fruit. While Shanks was shaking Luffy, the boy said, "Hey, why are you shaking me?" But before anyone could answer, Luffy's face hit the wooden floor, shocking not only him but everyone in the bar. When his body was back to normal, well, normal after the eating devil fruit, he said, Shanks, what just happened?" "That's what I would like to know, Luffy, as you just ate a Zoan-type devil fruit, not the gum fruit, which is a paramecia-type," Shanks said, then goes and sits down at the bar to think. While Shanks was thinking of what was happening, a blonde guy who was wearing a bandana with Yatsuba walks over and said, "Hey Captain, we all know there is a myth about 4 fruits and 3 of them have the same name." Upon hearing that, Shanks realized that the 4 mythical fruit was the only possibility, said, "You're right, Yasa, but they was thought to be a myth even more so than the mythical Zoan type, or a lot of people thought they didn't exist." Makino walks over and said, "What's so bad about these devil fruits?" Shanks looks at Makino and said, "Well, to simple put, a devil fruit is a fruit that will give its eater powers, but it comes at a price, as they will never be able to swim ever again, and you can only eat one." Makino's hands went up to her mouth as she gasps, then after a few moments said, "What was Yasub talking about?" "Well, you see, there is a rumor that has been going on for a long time now, saying that there are 4 fruits out and 3 of them hold 2 of the 3 types," Shanks said. Makino, not knowing much about devil fruits, said, "What do you mean by types?" Shanks was confused with Makino's question, but quickly realized that she might not know anything about the DF, said, "You see, there are 3 types to the fruits. The first is the paramecia type, which affects your body slightly, like turning you into rubber after eating the gum fruit. Then you have the Zoan, which turns you into an animal man, and the last one is the logia type, and that turns you into an elemental man." When Shanks had finished, Makino understood what he meant and said, "Now I get it. So 3 of his duo fruit, 1 fruit will give the eater a paramecia type and a logia type, another one will give the eater a paramecia type and a Zoan type, last one will give the eater a logia type and a Zoan type." "That's right, Makino, and that's the name of the 3 fruits, as their powers can vary from person to person, so I am sure you can guess what the last one is and can do," Shanks said. "Yes, give the eater all 3 types." "So which one did he eat, one of the duos or the tri-fruit?" Makino said. Before Shanks could answer, Luffy shouted, "Cool, so you mean to say is that I have 2 or 3 powers?" "Yes, Luffy, you might," Shanks said, then turned to Makino and said, "Sorry, but I can't tell you. As I said, we thought it was just a plan Zoan type, but it now he could have eaten any one of the 4. "I see, thanks Shanks," Makino said. When it sank in that he might have multiple powers, Luffy said, "Cool, and once I am strong enough, I am going to ask Makino to be one of my brides," and this set everyone laughing. After a couple of minutes, the laughter died down. Shanks turned to Luffy and said, "Hey Luffy, can you answer something for me?" Luffy looks at the pirate and said, "Sure. Why is it when you ask Makino to marry you, why does it sound like you're going to marry multiple women?" Luffy thought for about a minute or so, then said, "I don't know why, it just feels right when I say it like that." Chuckling a little, Makino said, "Don't worry about it, Shanks, he has always sounded like that, even said I will be the first he marries. And he never understood it then ever." "So, Makino, what do you plan to do?" Shanks asked. "Well, I made him a deal saying that if he still want Tome to be the first he marries when he is older, then I will," Makino said. "And what if he plans to travel, like becoming a pirate or a marine?" Shanks said. "Then I will join him and become a part of his crew," Makino said. Then they went on with their day. When Luffy went to the bar the next day, he found it a mess and there was no sign of Makino, and went to look for her. After looking for a half an hour, he found a couple of bandits that came into the bar yesterday. And one said with a nasty look on his face, "Do you think the boss will let us have some fun with that green-haired girl from that bar we raided?" "Well, I certainly hope so. She was a beauty," said another, on then laughed, completely unaware they are being followed by a 7-year-old. After a while they went to the port, and Luffy saw the bandits had a lot of boxes and was moving them onto a ship, and so Luffy went to look for Makino. After not finding her on the docks, he managed to sneak onto the ship, and after looking for a while, the boat has left the port and was quite far when he found Makino and she in a brig, and what he saw made him mad, as most of Makino's clothing was torn, and it was that bad that he could see her bra and panties, and he was about to call her when bandit leader came over and talked to her. "Have you calmed down yet?" Makino gave him a look that would make a normal man piss themselves and said, "What do you think? You kidnapped me, tore my clothing, and throw me in here so I can be what to you?" The man gains a nasty look, bends over and said, "I am sure you can think of what we have planned for you," and Makino gains a look of horror, and then man said, "Now that a nice look before we start now. I am wondering what will be your expression will be when we break you," and Makino gains a terrified look. When Luffy saw the look on Makino's face, he began to growl, which alerted everyone there, and they Luffy on all fours, gaining blue fur and 9 tails. When the transformation was complete, he was a 9-tailed fox with a white mane and around his paw, and at the tips of each tail was on fire, and he had a yin-yang symbol on him. Then the man said, "Well, now at the cleaning brat from yesterday, why are you here? Come to forfeit your life?" But all he got in response was a threatening growl. And the man turned to his men and said, "Well, what are you waiting for? Go get that brat." Makino quickly shouted, "Run, Luffy, don't worry about me, just get out of here." Luffy didn't hear, Makino didn't, but what he did do was lower his head, and his 9 tails went straight. Then the flames grew bigger, and he shot fireballs at the bandits, causing them to be set on fire. And they all run out to get water, and by doing that they set the boat on fire that was hot to all but him and Makino, and he calmed down a bit, well, just enough to think rashly. The head bandit said, "Fuck this shit," then he threw a few bombs on, making a smoke screen. When the smoke screen cleared, both the bandit and Makino was gone, so Luffy quickly run up to the deck. Then he looks round, then he saw Makino and the man on a small boat heading away from the island, so Luffy decides to try and jump and just manages to grab onto the side, but with the sudden weight the small boat capsized, causing all three to go into the ocean. Makino quickly see Luffy drowning and changing back into a human. She rushes to get him, and when she comes back up with him she could hear Luffy say, "Must save Makino," over and over. Makino smiles at this and said, "I have you now, Luffy, now let's head back to the island." After a little while of swimming, and Makino was getting tired, "Damn it, I don't think I can keep this up. But I must." As Makino kept on swimming, she was unaware of a large shadow going under her. Then she heard, "I can help you with that, my lord." Makino stopped swimming and looked around to see who just spoke, but couldn't see anything, then said to herself, "You must be going crazy." Makino then went back to swimming, but just then a large brown eel with red eyes, shocking Makino, said, "Lord of the Coast, this is bad, we are dead." When eel see Makino panicking, he said, "I know you can't understand me, but I mean you no harm. I am here to fulfill the Lord's wish to help him." And the one called Makino, shocking Makino. And when the eel sees the shocked look that the girl had, he said, "Can you understand me? Nod if you can please, but don't talk, as I can't understand your talk." And when Makino nodded, he said, "Now isn't that interesting? I can tell you are not the princess, as she is always reborn as a royal mermaid of the Ryuk kingdom. So that must mean you have the skill we see king like to call ears of sand, which lets the skill bearer hear creatures that can't be normally be understood. Also, are you the one called Makino?" And Makino nodded. He said, "Good, please point the way to island." And when Makino did, he went under the water and lifted both her and Luffy, and while heading back to the Dawn Island, the Sea King explained, said, "Makino, you have to listen very carefully, because at some point during that boy's 16th year, he will gain the ability to speak and understand us Sea King, as he is the reincarnated king known as Joy Boy, just like the current mermaid princess is the reincarnated coronation of Poseidon, so it is important that nobody finds out until he is ready for the world to know, and they have both met except the people you trust, and I must say that he will need multiple mates. Shocked by this news, she said so that why he said that it feels right when he said one over the first. Then she looks down at Luffy with a soft smile and gently stroked his hair. When they got to the island, Makino sees the mayor, Shanks, and his crew at the docks. The red-headed pirates was getting ready to attack the Sea King, but before they could, she quickly stands up on the king's head and shouted, "Shanks, stand down or I will not serve you in my bar for the rest of you. Stay here," shocking everyone that Makino was on top of the Sea King's head. Seeing no other option, Shanks said, "Well, you heard her crew, either we put our guns away or not get served." Then he puts his gun away, and soon his crew did the same. Then he said, "Also close your eyes," as Makino has barely any clothes on, and the Sea King gently lowered its head to the earth, and when it did, Shanks, who had his eyes closed, went up to it quickly but ready to attack to get Luffy and Makino passed Luffy to Shanks, who then passed him to his first mate, then went back to get Makino, and when she was on the ground he gave her his coat to cover herself, and the Sea King retreats. Makino took the coat and said, "Thanks, Shanks." Shanks opened his eye and said, "Not a problem, Makino. So what happened, and why did that Sea King give you a ride back? Could you and the mayor meet at my bar in about an hour? I need to dry myself and get new clothes, and so does Luffy," Makino said. "You're right, Makino," Shanks said. Then they went on their merry way, and after the hour, Luffy, Makino, Shanks, and the mayor was at the bar, and Shanks said, "Okay, Makino, what happened?" Makino took a deep breath, told them what happened, and described Luffy's cubized form and told them where they are located. Then Shanks said, "Well, that explains the symbols suddenly appearing at that location. I had heard that some people gains one thing from their animal, from like if an animal ate the human fruit in their human form will have fur." Then Makino continued her story, including what the Sea King said, and the mayor said, "Makino, how is it that you could understand the beast?" Well, the Sea King said that as I wasn't one of the two rulers, I have a skill he called the Ears of Sand, an ability that allows humans understand them and vice versa, Makino replied. Shanks, who was laughing, stood up and walks over to Luffy and said, "You hear that, Luffy? You're going to be a ruler as you bet older and have multiple life, you said." And as he went to pat him on the back, but his hand went through him. Shocked by what happened, the red-haired pirate hit the table and yelped in pain, then said, "Well, I guess we know the mythical tri fruit exists, so maybe the three duo can." Then looked at Luffy and saw black vapors coming off Luffy, then said, "So he is a rubber fox man and a darkness man, not that one combo I don't want to face, plus the fact that he can spec to Sea Kings at some point when he is 16. Then he looks over to Makino and Luffy and said, "But you don't need to worry, as I wouldn't tell anyone about Luffy being Sea King royalty or that he has eaten the tri fruit." "Same here, Makino," said the mayor. "Thank you, both of you," Makino said. Then she looks around her bar and said, "Well, I guess I need to tidy up this place." Luffy looks at Makino and said, "Well, you can count on me to help you, Makino." Makino goes up to Luffy and hugs him and said, "Thank you, Luffy, for what you did today and for the help." "No problem, Makino, and maybe I can practice with my powers," Luffy said. The mayor stands up and said, "Well, in that case I better get going and do my mayor duty." Shanks then said, "Me and my crew will help you out, Makino." Later that day, when Makino was home alone, she goes into one of her cupboards and pulls out a violet, spherical-shaped fruit with a stem sprouting out of the top, with swirls that go in a curly S-like pattern. Its overall appearance greatly resembles a Yubari. King says to herself, "So I wonder what kind of devil fruit you are, and is it worth losing me ability to swim?" Then she places it back. It has been a week since Luffy ate the tri fruit, has a little control over his powers, and right now at the docks with Makino and Shanks, and just made his declaration of becoming king of the pirates. And Shanks places his straw hat on Luffy and said, "Then I will leave this hat to you, so take care of it, okay? And also remember this, all the best pirates have territories, so build your own." "You got it, Shanks, and once I am king, I will return your hat. Then I am going to make Makino my first queen," Luffy said. As Shanks was walking to his ship, the thought, well, if that Sea King said is true, that some humans can understand them with this skill, Ears of Sand, then my old Captain Roger might not be crazy after all, and that Luffy, this mermaid princess, two rulers that he said, then Luffy is destined to be a king. But it doesn't say which king. It is 3 years since Luffy had eat the tri fruit, is training with his powers, and right now is currently running through a forest with another kid that is a couple years older than him. When Luffy suddenly stopped and looked around, the other boy noticed this and stopped as well and said, "Luffy, what's wrong?" Luffy turns to the boy and said, "It's nothing, Ace. Thought I heard something, so let's continue." As the two boys was about to continue with whatever it was they was doing, Luffy heard a feminine voice say in a pained tone, "Please someone help me." Luffy looks at Ace and said, "Okay, that time I heard something, and it was asking for help, and she sounds hurt." Ace looks at Luffy and says, "Are you, cause I heard nothing?" Luffy said nothing and went to look for whoever's in trouble, and after a little while of searching, Ace found what Luffy might have heard and said, "Over here, Luffy, I think I might found what you was looking for." And Luffy came over and saw a fox white as snow and was covered with blood. The fox weakly opened its eyes and in the same voice that Luffy heard said, "Who are you?" "Someone to help you, I think," Luffy replied as he gently picked her up. Ace looks at Luffy confused and asked him, Luffy, who are you talking to?" Luffy turns to Ace, points to the fox and said, "Her." After all, she was speaking. No, she wasn't, Luffy. All I heard was yipping like a fox does, Ace said while looking at the fox. Before turning his attention to Luffy, he asked, so what are you going to do with her? The only thing I can do, go to my village and ask Makino for help, Luffy said as he turned into his hybrid form, then gently placed her in his tail's full kitsune, then quickly run off to see Makino and get her help. Ace looks in the direction that Luffy went, and with a sigh he said to himself, guess I better tell Daden that Luffy won't be around for a few days. They headed up the mountain. When Luffy got to his village, he turned into his hybrid form, then took the fox in hand, the full human, then headed to Makino's bar. When she looked up from cleaning a table and saw Luffy and somehow missed the injured fox, said, hey Luffy, what brings you here? Well, I was in the forest with Ace when I heard this female voice asking for help, and so we looked. And Ace found this fox who spoke to me, though Ace thinks I made it up, Luffy said. Finally noticing the bloody white fox, she said, oh my god, come in and head upstairs, then place her on the table and I will take a look, and if it not serious I might be able to pack her up. And Luffy did as Makino asked while she got a bowl of water and a cloth once. Then Luffy went to the sofa while Makino cleaned and looked the fox over, then sighed in relief, then said, well Luffy, these wounds aren't too serious so I can patch her up. And so she did, and once she was done she said, there you go fox, all patched up. When Luffy heard that Makino was done, he headed over and said, so what do we do about her? Makino looked at Luffy and said, well first we are going to let her rest, then you are going to ask her what she want to do. What do you mean? Luffy asked. What I mean is you said that you can talk and understand her, right? Makino said. What, you believe me? But Ace didn't, Luffy said. Well, I see no reason you to lie to me about this. And then there is your devil fruit, as Shanks said, that not much is known about. Then so who to say that Zoan types can't speak and understand their animal types? Makino said. What does that mean? Luffy asked, all confused. What I mean, Luffy, is if someone ate a bird type then they might understand bird, Makino said, then point to the fox that is on the table and said, or in your case foxes. So, what you mean is that the reason I could understand is because of my Zoan power as it's a fox? Luffy asked. That's exactly what I am saying, Luffy, Makino said. Then she went and got some food and water for the fox, then went to finish closing the bar. After an hour then Fox came to look around and saw two bowls, one of water and the other had food, and then continued to look around and was the boy that saved her asleep. So she gets up and has a drink, and as she gets up, she is drinking, she heard, oh you're awake. Not expecting this caused the fox to jump and looks to where the voice came from to see the boy awake, and she said, where am I? You are at someone I care very much about. And she took care of you, Luffy replied. The fox was shocked by the reply, said, wait, you can understand me. To tell you I am not quite sure about that either, but Makino, the girl that took care of you when I brought you here, said that it might because of the zone of my devil fruit and zone power in general that you can understand that type of animal as a fox. Man, I can understand all foxes, Luffy replied. Really, said the fox, and when Luffy nodded she asked, mind if I see you fox form? I don't mind, Luffy said, then transformed into his fox form, and as he does the fox is shocked to the kind boy that turned into a blue nine-tailed fox. Luffy was about to say something when the door opened and Makino walks in, and the fox was about to panic when Luffy turned back into a human, then run over and tackled her into a hug. Said Makino, the fox is awake. Makino looks over to see the fox sitting down, then turns back to Luffy and said, now let's see how her injuries. Then she carefully took the bandages off and said, well, good news, she didn't reopen her wounds, but she will need to stay here for about a week. Before Luffy could tell here, the fox said, I know what she said. What is your name anyway? Releasing that they haven't introduced themselves, Luffy said, oh right, my name is Mankey D. Luffy, but you can call me Luffy, and the female that changed your bandages is Makino. Well, it's nice you meet you, Luffy, and you to Makino. My name is Yuki, said Yuki. Yuki, that a nice name, is it because your fur is snow white? Luffy asked. Partly, and I was born when there was a snowstorm going on outside my parents' den, Yuki said. Then a thought came to mind, then said, hey Luffy, mind telling Makino that I said thank you for patching me up? And Luffy nodded. The week has passed since Luffy and Ace found the fox and learned that she was pouched when she was ready to leave and make her own den, and she managed to get out of the cage, then jump overboard when the ship passed the island, and she is from an island. As always, winter had a cruel king and had two wacky but excellent doctors. She is now fully healed, and right now Luffy is taking Yuki to a nice little spot, and when he got there, he placed the fox on the ground. Yuki looks around then at Luffy and with a little bit of hesitation asked Luffy, if it's not too much of a bother, can I stay with you? Luffy tilts his head and asked why. Well, it's just that you and Makino have been so kind to me and looked after me, and I have no other place to go. Then there is also the fact that you are a nine-tailed fox, and being in one's company is virtually every fox's dream, Yuki said. Okay, but you should know that when I turn 17, I am going out into the wood, become the king of pirates, and if Makino want to, she will be coming as well. Now come on, I want to introduce you to a few people, Luffy said, then head up the mountain. That's fine, Luffy, but can I ask you a few questions? Yuki asked. Sure, ask away. My first question is, if I join your pirate crew, do you think I might see my family again? Yuki asked. Luffy looks down to the fox and sees she has a sad look on her face, then said, I am not completely sure of that, but wouldn't that be worth going? You're right, Luffy, if I don't go then, I will never see them. And I do go, I might see them, which is better, Yuki said after seeing what Luffy was trying to say, then said, okay, my next question, where are we going? I already said to introduce you some friends that live up in the mountains, Luffy said. And who are they, Yuki asked. Mountain bandits, Luffy said, shocking Yuki as Luffy told her about what happened 3 years ago. But I thought you hated Mountain Bandit after what happened 3 years ago, Yuki asked. I do, but even though Daden is a mountain bandit, she has become like a mother figure to me, Luffy replied in a sad tone. Yuki noticed the tone, said, may I ask what happened? And then Luffy began to tell the fox what happened when he first met Daden, how she cared for him and Ace, and how she came over to defend them from a pirate named Blue Jam. After a while, the duo made it to Daden's hideout, and the big curly-haired woman acted like she didn't miss them but was happy then went a gushy over the white-furred fox. 3 weeks later, we find the fox hunting for her meal when she came across a weird-looking fungus covered with curly S-shapes all over it, wondering what it tastes like. She took a bit out of it. Once she did, she regretted it as it tasted nasty, so she decided to head to the spring to wash the taste away, and as she was walking away, the fungus turned back to normal. Later that day, Yuki was with Luffy eating with the Daden family when Ace came over and said, hey Luffy, how was your and Yuki's day? Before Luffy could answer, Yuki said in human tongue without realizing, I had a good day apart from that nasty tasting fungus. Then the whole room fell quiet, and everyone looked at the fox. When Yuki notices the attention, she said, what, do I have something on my fur? Then looks at Luffy, who had the same surprised look on his face. She said, what is going on here? When Luffy snapped out of the shock, said, Yuki, you are speaking human. Yuki looks over to Luffy and asked, I am, and when everyone nodded, she said, sweet, now I can speak to you lot without having to rely on Luffy to translate, causing everyone to laugh. Then Ace went to stroke her, but his hand went through her, and her body looked like snow. Luffy knew right away when Yuki's body turned to snow that she must have one of the 3 duo fruit that Zoan Loja won. Then the next day he took Yuki to see Makino, who was shocked that there was a duo fruit in the jungle. Then for the rest, the day Luffy spent with Yuki helping her adjust to walking on 2 legs. It has been 7 years since Luffy found Yuki, who later ate a duo fruit, and they had mastered their power. All the while Makino was getting more and more tempted to eat the one she has stashed away. Luffy has learned that with his darkness power he has a little power over gravity and can store things inside a black hole, and also has the ability to cancel out other devil fruits, and that he can choose whether to be hit, which doesn't hurt thanks to being rubber, or let it phase though him. Down at the dock was 3 people, Luffy, Makino, and Yuki in her human form, and not too far away there was 2 groups. One was the town's villagers and the other the mountain bandits that looked after Ace and Luffy. Luffy looked at Makino and said, are you sure you want to come with us, Makino? After all, what about your bar? You don't have to worry about that, Luffy. After all, I called in a favor from your grandfather, and I can say that it's in worthy hands, Makino said, then looks over to Daden and said, isn't that right, Daden? Yes, Garp came to see me and said that if I looked after Makino's bar then he will try and remove my bounty, and after look after you, Ace and Yuki, I think it's time to change lifestyles. And everyone agreed with me, Daden said. Luffy, who was touched by what Daden was doing, walked up to her and said, I may hate bandits, but you're different, and thanks for everything. I know why you hate me. When Garp dropped you off, cause Yuki told me everything from that a man was about to do to Makino, and that you thought I was after I fought Blue Jam. And I can say I was touched that you thought I was like a mother to you, Daden said, and was almost brought to tears when Luffy hugged her. Then when run over to the boat with Makino and Yuki following behind. Once on the boat, Luffy said, all right crew, let's set sail, and in no time they left the island and began their adventure. When the boat was a far distance away, Luffy summoned the Sea King that was near the island, who said, what can I do for you, Luffy? I need you to look after the island while I'm gone, Luffy said. Consider it protected, the Sea King said before going back down. After a few days, the crew had hit some rocky waves and Luffy had somehow fell into a barrel. Then the lid landed in, and Makino sealed it shut. Then the barrel went overboard. The next day when the waves calmed down, Makino and Yuki looked and was beginning to worry about Luffy, since he wasn't anywhere to be found, but also knew that he can take care of himself and that they will meet up sooner or later. Meanwhile, with he was asleep in the barrel was hauled onto a cruise ship that was currently being raided by pirates. When he woke up, he smashed the lid and unknowingly knocked someone out while saying what a great nap. Then noticed the man he had knocked out and said while getting out of the barrel, who are you and where is Makino and Yuki? Also, your friends might get sick sleeping like that. Ignoring the 2 men who was shouting, Luffy went over to a boy that was about his age and said, do you have any food, cause I am starving? One of the men that Luffy was ignoring said, now what do you think you're doing? You aren't supposed to ignore us, as we are ruthless pirates. Then he and his friend went to attack Luffy, and as Luffy noticed the 2 men coming at him with sword drawn, so he broke the sword. Luffy, not happy about being attacked like that, asked, what is wrong with you 2? What did I do to deserve that? One of the men said, just who in the world are you? Luffy simply said, I am Monkey D. Luffy. Then the 2 men grabbed their passed out friend and run out the kitchen like a bat out of hell. The boy that was on his hand and knees then began to panic. They said, quick, you have to run. The 2 that run will came back here, but with some of their buddies, and they will kill you. Luffy looks at the teen and said, well, they can try, I'm not worried. But my 2 girl mates might be, as I am not on the boat. Then he shrugged and said, oh well, I'm sure I will find them sooner or later. This caused the boy to panic even more and said, what do you mean you're not worried about them? There are at least 100 of them on this ship waiting for an opportunity to kill anything. Luffy, who was ignoring the boy, headed for the pantry. When the boy noticed Luffy was in the pantry mumbling while heading into the once he was in there, he turned to Luffy, who was munching on some apples, and said, well, I suppose I should introduce, well, I'm Koby and it's Luffy, right? Luffy stopped eating and looks over to Koby and asked, so is this a pirate ship or what? No, it's a cruise ship that's being raided by the Alvida pirates. Lead my Alvida, Koby said. Don't really care what kind of ship it is, I just want to know if there is any boat on board. I kind of went overboard last night in the rough sea, Luffy said, then asked, so what about you? Are you a pirate or a passenger? That's complicated, Koby said, then went on to tell how he got to where he is now and that he couldn't leave, and by the end of it Luffy was laughing. When Luffy stopped laughing he said, you're a moron and a coward, man, do I hate people like you. With a somber voice Koby said, as much as I hate to admit it, you're right. If I had your courage I might have drifted around in a barrel and be done with pirate and try and live my own dream. And what's that? Luffy asked. I want to be a marine, so you think I can do it? Koby said. Luffy looks at Koby and said, maybe, but the question is, do you have what it takes? And which side will you be on? Koby looked confused, then asked, what do you mean, what side will I be on? Luffy points to one of the yin-yang symbols on his shoulder and said, you see this symbol? Koby nods and said, yes, but what does it mean? Luffy said, it mean balance. With good there must be bad, and with light there must be darkness. But if look inside both sides you will see small circles. Now what they mean is that bad people will look like the good people, and there will good people that will look like bad people. Understand? I think so, Koby said, understanding a little of it, then said, how do I know which side I'm on? Simple, just keep why you want to join them, pure like to catch wanted pirates and bandits and not for power. So, you know my dream, so what about your dream? Koby said. Oh, that easy, I going to become king of the pirates, Luffy said, shocking Koby once more. The king? Koby asked. Yep, Luffy replied. You're serious? Koby asked. Yep, after all, according to some sea kings I am one of the rulers, Luffy answered. Missing the sea king part, Koby asked, what about your crew? Just 2 females right now, and they are out there most likely looing for me, Luffy said, knowing they will meet up again. And that would mean that you're a pirate? Koby said. Sure am, Luffy said. All of a sudden Koby stands up and said, that title is only given to those that has obtained everything that the wood has to offer, wealth, fame, and power. So you are looking for the legendary treasure known as One Piece, but a lot of pirates are looking for that treasure. Yes, but I have good reason that I will become king, as I've been told, Luffy said. After hearing that, Koby said in a non-believing tone, really, and who told you that? Luffy said 2 words that almost gave Koby a heart attack. Sea kings, plus I decides long ago that I will become king of the pirates, and if I have to die trying, I die. And nobody can't say I didn't try. Before anyone could say anything the roof broke, and then a voice said, what was that? Don't make laugh, there is no way you will claim it. Then turned to Koby and said, Koby, who is the most beautiful woman on these sea? Before Koby could answer, Luffy said, well, I can name you 2, one is Makino, and the other is Yuki. Everyone that was in earshot had dropped their jaws, and one of the pirates that was on deck said that not good. As Alvida swing her club down, she tells, you fucking bastard. Luffy jumps out of the way, grabs Koby, then jumps into the deck after making quick work of the pirate on the deck, which ended shocking everyone when Luffy run past a mast, then grab it, stretching his arm, then he said, gum gum rocket, then he goes flying back, knocking everyone over. Alvida walks up and said, you have eaten the devil fruit. Luffy stood tall and said with pride, sure did, not telling you which one though. And here I thought they was a legend of them, but you are the first person I have seen that has them, Alvida said, then goes on to say, I must say you have some skill, more so than the average deck swabber, so I have so ask. Go on, Luffy said. Are you a bounty hunter? Alvida asked. Nope, a pirate, Luffy replied. A pirate won these waters, so what about your crew? Alvida asked. Well, at the moment there is only 3 of us, but hey, just started out, Luffy said in a nonchalant way. So, boy, you and I are both pirates and not under the same flag, doesn't that make us enemies? Alvida asked. Koby, who is by Luffy, whispers before Luffy could answer, hey Luffy, let's get out of here. Luffy, who is looking at Alvida, said, I don't know, does it? Then he turns to Koby and said, why do we have to? Koby begins try and persuade Luffy to run, but was cut off as he remembered what Luffy told him about his dream, then looks at Alvida and said, you are the most ugliest this in the world, and I am going to leave and join the Marines, and when I am able to, I will be hunting pirate you, your ugly ass down. Alvida, who is pissed beyond belief, raised her club and as he brings it down said, you are so fucking dead. Luffy steps in the way, and when the club hit him he just grins and said, that doesn't work on me, I am made of rubber. Then he bring up an arm, knocking the club out of Alvida's hands, stretching the arm, then as he bring it back to attack he said, gum gum pistol, and when the punch connected to the giant woman it sent her flying. Then he turned to the rest of the Alvida pirates and said, you lot go and find Koby a ship, he is leaving right now. Scared of what Luffy will do, the said yes sir, then scampered away to find a boat. Then all of a sudden cannonball starting to rain down as marine ships showed up, but Koby didn't want to go as they might mistake him as a pirate. Luffy sees a boat, then he grabbed Koby and runs to it as he sends a small flame at the rope, burning the rope and dropping the boat to the sea. And as it hit the water, Luffy hears a scream and saw a girl with orange hair and big brown eyes and smiles at her. Then two boats headed out on the separate ways and somehow escaping the marine. As Luffy and Koby sailed, Luffy turned to Koby and said, "So Koby, do you know where we are heading?" "Well, I am no navigator, but I would say we are heading to Yatsuba Island tomorrow or the day after, and rumor has it that the famous pirate hunter Roronoa Zoro is being held," Koby replied. "This Zoro guy, what's he like?" Luffy asked. "Unfortunately, I never met the guy, but from the rumors I've heard he is as violent as a demon and 3 times horrifying," Koby said, then asked him, "Why do you want to know about Zoro?" Luffy gave Koby a big toothy smile and said, "Isn't it obvious I am going to need a skilled crew for where I'm going?" "Oh, that's right, you're going to after the elusive treasure One Piece," Koby said in realization, then went on to say, "And for that you need to head to the Grand Line, which is also known as the Pirate Graveyard." "That's right, hence why I need a crew that's good at what they do," Luffy said. The duo fell into a comfortable silence, and after a while Koby asked, "Hey Luffy." Luffy looks at Koby and said, "Yes. You mentioned you have 2 other crew members. What are they like?" "Well, first you have Makino. She is sweet, caring, and has always supported my becoming the Pirate King and had agreed to become one of my wives when I do accomplish it," Luffy said, then talked about Yuki. "Then there is Yuki. She is rough around the edges, but once she gets to know you, then you have a great ally or friend depending." "Wait, you said one of your wives, don't you mean become your wife?" Koby said. "No, even as a kid I have always said one of like I am going to have more than one lover, and a Sea King told Makino that I am a reincarnation of a sea ruler known as Joy Boy and that I am to have multiple mates," Luffy said. Looking at Luffy like he has gone mad, Koby said, "But the Sea King are monsters, no one can control them." "That's not entirely true because there are only 2 people that can. One is a mermaid princess who is the reincarnation of Neptune and the other one is the reincarnation to Joy Boy. But a small number of people can understand them cause they have something that the Sea Kings call the ears of sand, and Makino has this gift," Luffy said. "That sound like a good story on how she found out she has that gift," Koby said, then asked, "Mind if I hear it?" "Not at all," Luffy said, then started the story. "It was the day after I ate my devil fruit. I got into a mess with some mountain bandits as they had kidnapped Makino and was about to do something that no female should go through. Then I unlocked another part of my devil fruit. Then in a haze I burnt their ship, but the leader got away with Makino, so I went after them. They was in a small boat not far from the ship, so I jumped and I landed on the boat, but unfortunately the sudden extra weight caused the boat to capsize, and as you know I couldn't swim, so Makino grabbed me and started to swim to shore. All the while I was saying gotta save Makino, but unfortunately we was too far from shore and Makino couldn't swim. Then I must have tapped into the dormant power to summon and communicate with the Sea Kings, and the Sea King that has made our island home told Makino that she had the ears of sand and who I was. Then the Sea King took us home." "Wow, that's some story," Luffy, Koby said, then began to chat about all kinds of stuff, and when it got late, they went to sleep. It was about midday the following day when Luffy and Koby saw Yatsuba Island, and it took them another hour to dock the boat. Then they began to walk around. And Koby was saying, "Are you sure you want this guy to be a part of your crew, Luffy?" "Haven't really decided that much yet. After all, I haven't really met the guy yet, and I need to know what kind of guy Zoro is," Luffy replied, but also caused all the residents in the area to freak out upon hearing Zoro's name. Looking around at the residents, Koby pulls Luffy close and whispers, "It might be a good idea if we don't mention Zoro." Not really caring, Luffy said, "Yeah, whatever," then starts to walk towards the marine base and said, "Well, let's head to the base and get you signed up. After all, you want to be a marine, don't you?" "Well, yeah, but maybe I should wait as I don't think I am ready just yet," Koby said, then went on to say thing about the man in charge, and from what I hear the man in charge is Captain Axe Hand Morgan, which caused the people in earshot to freak out again. Walking away, Luffy was laughing while saying, "Man, this place a riot." Koby catches up to Luffy and said, "That's strange, I can understand freaking out about Zoro, but why flip out when I mentioned the captain? Maybe he is the black dot on the white side," Luffy said. Koby looks up at Luffy and said, "What are you on about?" "I told you yesterday, remember when you told me about your dream?" Luffy said. As Koby remembers what Luffy said the days before they come up upon the gates of the and when then pink-haired boy realized where they were, he had tears on in his eyes and said, "I've made it, I have finally made it, now my dream can finally start." While Koby was talking, Luffy begins to climb the wall to see if he can see the Zoro and said, "Now where is this demon?" "The Marines wouldn't have him outside, they probably have him in the deepest holding cell they have," Koby said. Luffy jumps down and said as he goes left, "I see someone, maybe it's the demon known as Zoro. So I am going to get a loser look." Then once Luffy is back on the wall, he said, "Come on Koby, get up here and take a look." Asshole, Koby climbs the wall. He said, "I am telling you Luffy, there is no way that it." Then he stops dead in his tracks as he sees a bloke wearing really dark green trousers and a bandana, a white shirt and a green haramaki, then said, "I can't believe it, it's really him, it's Roronoa Zoro." So that's Zoro, Luffy said to himself, then turned to Koby and asked he could just walk away if we untie the ropes. Are you nuts? There is no way. What a bandit like him would do if we did that. He might kill us, Koby shouted, then realized who he was talking to, then said to himself, oh yeah, he is. You worry too much, I can protect us, Luffy said. Yep, he is none. I feel sorry for Makino and Yuki and all his future lovers as they have to deal with him, Koby think to himself, and unaware of what he just thought caused quite a few girls around the world to sneeze. Upon hearing some commotion, Zoro looked up to see Luffy and Koby, then said, hey you two, causing Koby to panic. Then Zoro said, you're an eyesore, fuck off. Koby panicked, then goes over to Luffy and said, Luffy, there is absolutely survive if you have people like him on your crew. Then a wooden ladder was put up right where he was, causing Koby to look over and sees a little girl about 6 or 7 years of age coming up the ladder. As she looks at the two teens, she dies the shushing motion, then looks around, then lowers some rope and climbs down, then runs over to Zoro. When Koby sees this, he says to Luffy, we have to do something, Luffy, cause if we don't then she will be killed, but the Marines or by the demon himself. When the girl got to Zoro, the then late teen said, what do you want? Thought you might be getting a bit hungry. Do I made you some onigiri? The girl replied. Beat it, kid, unless you have a death wish, Zoro said. But you haven't really had anything to eat since you got tied up. The girl, as she opens the warping, then offers them to Zoro with a here, I think they turned out fine as I never really made them before. Zoro was a little surprised by what the then said. Listen here, kid, I'm not hungry, so get lost as you're annoying me. But the little girl said, I might not like to kick a kid's asses, but I will if I have to. Little girl, Zoro said. Unaware to the teen and kid, the gate opened up and 3 people walked in, 2 of which was Marines, and the last was a boy that looked like he was a year or 2 older than Zoro, and he said, now no one like a bully. And when he got closer said, Roronoa, Zoro, you seem like you are handing this loke a piece of pie. That's because it is, Zoro replied. Back with Koby and Luffy, the latter said, hey, look at that weird guy, who do you think he is? Koby said, I don't know who he is, but he must be with the Marines. Now we know the girl is safe. As Luffy got a good look at the guy, he knew what type of guy he was and said, I wouldn't be so sure about that, Koby. What do you mean? Koby asked, looking at the straw hat pirate. Just watch was all Luffy said. Back with Zoro and Ko, the guy said, looky here, I spy some tasty looking onigiri, then he snatches one. Hey, that's not for you, the girl said as the guy took a bite out of the onigiri. When the guy took the bite, he spits it out and said, that way too sweet, you are meant to use salt, not sugar. What kind of idiot are you? But I thought it might taste better if they were sweet, the girl said. But the guy didn't listen and said, give me that, then waxed the other onigiri on the ground and stomps one it. Hey, what are you doing? Stop, the girl said, trying to get the blonde-haired man to stop. Back with Luffy and Koby, the latter said, is this what you mean, Luffy? That's just awful. I know, and if Makino was here, she would be over there ready to give the guy a slap across the face, one for what he just did to the onigiri and another for trying to make the girl cry, Luffy said. Back with the girl, when the guy stopped, the girl said with tears in her eyes, but I worked so hard to make those. Well, that's too bad, the guy said. The goes to pull something out while saying, I guess you haven't read the notice that's been posted. Then he reads the post, anyone caught assisting a criminal shall be executed, and it is signed by Captain Morgan, causing the girl to freeze in fear. The guy saw this and said with a little chuckle, so even little brats fear my daddy. When the 2 teens hear this, Koby says, so his father must be Marine Captain Morgan. The guy pointed to the Marine that was on his left side and said, you tossed the brat right this minute, but Marine was a bit hesitant, but the guy went up to the Marine and said, I gave you an order, so throw her over the wall right now or I will go and tell my father. The Marine said in a panicked tone, yes sir, right away sir, then goes over to the girl and said, I am sorry little girl, but I must do as ordered, so here is some advice. Cruel up into a ball, then picks her up, then throws her over the wall the same way she got in and over Luffy and Koby. As the girl screams, she tries to get into a ball, but the how she was thrown made it difficult to do, but luckily Luffy jumped after her and grabs her, then said, don't worry girl, I've got you, but here's the plan. I am going to put you on my back and I want you to put your arm around my neck and keep them there. The girl quickly nodded, then Luffy puts her in his back and turned into his fox form and landed on all fours, then lays down to lets the girl climb off. The girl turns to face Luffy and said, thanks mister, but how did you turn into a big fox? Before Luffy could answer, Koby came over and said, hey, are you two both okay? Then goes over to the girl and examined her to make sure she was okay. Luffy turns back into a human and said, Koby, take her home, I still want to speak to Zoro. Meanwhile, back with Zoro, the blonde guy was laughing and said, you are dead set on making it, thought, aren't you? That's right little man, I plan to make it though the month without trouble, Zoro said. Right, good luck with that, the guy said as he walks away while laughing. I don't need luck as I have 10 days left, Zoro said. That's assuming you make though these 10 days, the guy said. When the guy was gone, Zoro notices he was alone, looks over and see Luffy, then said, what are you still doing here? Luffy walks over and said, so you're Zoro, you don't look all that impressive. But I know that looks can be deceiving, but here is what I do know. If I was in your position, I would have starved after 3 days. Yeah, well I have more spirit than you and that is how I am going to make it though this ordeal, Zoro said with a smirk, then said, this I swear. Well, when it comes to meals, a lot of people have that over me, Luffy said, turns to walks out while saying, well I will come back, we can have a chat, I want to see if the girl is okay. As Luffy was walking away, Zoro said, "Wait, do you mind giving that to me?" Then uses his head to try and points to the smashed up onigiri. "Are you really going to eat this?" Luffy said, then shrugs his shoulders and said, "Well, I did live in a jungle for 10 years, so I can't say anything." Then he puts it in Zoro's mouth. Once Zoro was finished, he coughed a little and said it was good, so tell that the girl that and also say that I am sorry for what I said. "Will do," Luffy said as he walks away. After a few minutes, Luffy found Koby and the little girl and, "Hey, how are you, girlie?" "Don't call me that, my name is Rika," Rika said. "Well, Rika, Zoro liked your onigiri and said that he was sorry about what he said," Luffy said. "Really, he actually said that?" Rika said. "Yes, and he even ate every single grain of rice," Luffy said. "I'm glad that he liked it," Rika said. "I wonder if Zoro is as bad and worthless as everyone says he is." Koby wonders out loud. "He's not," Rika said, then went on to say he's a good person because he's where he is because of us. "You are going to have to tell us what happened, Rika, as you're making no sense after all. Both me and Koby got here today," Luffy said. "Sorry, it's that dummy known as Helmeppo, the guy that gave the order to have me thrown over the wall, and is the son of Morgan," Rika said, then began to tell them 20 days ago Helmeppo was out walking his wolf when it burst into my mother's restaurant and terrorized our customers. So I tried to get it to go away, but when it went for me, Zoro threw a chair at it. Both Zoro and Helmeppo said a few things all the while eating his meal. When Helmeppo tried to attack Zoro, Helmeppo threatened me and my mother, then made a deal saying that if Zoro survives 1 month, then Helmeppo will let the Zoro go as well as the me and my mother, and it's been 3 weeks since then, and he is being unfair as he keeps on kicking and punching him while he is tied up, and I have no idea on how to help him. Now I understand that you're upset," Koby said. Then all of a sudden, they heard a smash coming from the restaurant that Rika's mother owned, so they decided to see what was going on and saw that it was Helmeppo was making an order saying that the owner keeps the check and wondering what to do as he was bored while Luffy was walking, and he see the girl from the day before, and he hears Helmeppo say, "Well, I suppose I could have Zoro executed," which got him a punched across the room from a pissed Luffy. As Helmeppo looks at Luffy, he said, "You just hit me." Luffy was about to hit Helmeppo, but Koby held Luffy while saying, "Luffy, you can't hit him." Luffy still trying to hit Helmeppo. "Sure I can, after all this guy is scum." "You acutely hit me," Helmeppo said, shocked. "Yeah, and I will do as soon as Koby lets go," Luffy said. "I am the Marine Captain Morgan's son, just so you know," Helmeppo said. "And I don't give a fucking damn," Luffy said, still trying to give a hit the guy. "You will care when he executes you for this," Helmeppo said. "Like he couldn't just be a man and fight and not be a sissy and hide behind your father," Luffy said. "Luffy, calm down a little, and why are you trying to get one the Marine's bad side?" Koby said as Helmeppo snack away. "You forget, Koby, I am a pirate and I have made my decision," Luffy said. Then from the doorway came a voice that Luffy knew all too well, and what that be, Luffy? Luffy instantly calms down and look over to the door and see Makino and Yuki standing there, then said, "Our new crewmate." Makino give Luffy and pulls him his cheek even though it wouldn't affect him much and said, "We can leave you alone, can we?" "Not my fault, the asshole deserved the beatdown I was going to give him," Luffy said. Yuki walks up and pulls his other cheek and said, "Oh really, then tell us what he did." Koby said, "I take it you're Makino and Yuki." Yuki lets go of Luffy's cheek, turns to Koby and said, "Yes, we are, and who are you?" "I am Koby and Luffy helped me out yesterday, and what happened is this," Koby said, then tells them what had happened. "I swear you can't stay out of trouble, can you? But you always do want to help those in need, don't you? And that's why we love you," Makino said. Then Makino and Yuki give Luffy a kiss, then they make plans to help Zoro and try and persuade him to join. Makino, Luffy, and Yuki headed to the Marine Fort to free Zoro, and along the way Luffy turned to Makino and said, "Makino, you know you don't have to come with us." "Why is that?" Makino asked. "Well, simply put, I am worried cause you're not much of a fighter," Luffy said. Makino smiles and said, "That's sweet of you, Luffy, but you need not to worry cause I ate a devil fruit yesterday," Makino said. Luffy was shocked to hear that Makino ate a devil fruit and said, "But why did you do that knowing that you wouldn't be able to swim again?" "Because I would like to have your back in a fight, as I know you will always have ours, and I don't want to be one of the useless crew members who don't know how to fight, plus I have to be worthy of holding the title as first mate," Makino said. "Don't really get it, but okay," Luffy said. Then he asked, "So which devil fruit did you eat?" Makino looked at Luffy with a mischievous smile and said, "That's for me to know and you to find out." Luffy slumps down and pouts and said, "Oh come on," which got a laugh from Makino and Yuki. When the trio got to courtyard, they see Zoro remembering something, then he gasps. Then when he sees that he has company in the form of Luffy, Makino and Yuki then said, "Oh, it's you again. Don't you have anything better to do than to bug me?" "Not really," Luffy said. "Anyway, I will untie you, but you have to join my crew." Makino whacks Luffy on his head and said, "You can't force people to join our crew." Then she begins to grill Luffy. While Makino was grilling her captain, Zoro looks at Yuki and asked, "What is that all about?" Yuki looks over to Zoro and said, "Simply put, the three of us," points to herself. "Makino and Luffy are pirates, and the one getting a bollocking is Luffy, and he is our captain. The one doing the bollocking is Makino, and she is his first mate, and I name Yuki, and I am a fighter. And what is going on is it would appear that Luffy wants you to join our crew." "What, join a bunch of criminals like hell I will," Zoro said. Luffy walks over as Makino has stopped grilling him. "Aid, and why don't you want be one?" Because they are nothing but the lowest of the low, like I would ever become one, Zoro replied. Oh come on, everyone says that you're a demon in human form that is always out for blood, Luffy said. Like I care on what people say about me, I haven't done anything that I regret, Zoro said then with a determination on his face and held it in his voice. I will make it through this, then I will head out to accomplish what I set out to do. That's great and all, but I have already decided that you are joining my crew, Luffy said. What, you can't just decide that, Zoro shouted. Makino was pulling his ear and said, didn't I just finish grilling you about this? Come on, Makino, let go of my ear, Luffy asked, and when she did, he turned to the swordman and said, I hear that you're the best swordman around. That's because I am, but that dumbass that's the captain's son took them away, Zoro said. Well, looks like I am going to have to get it for you, Luffy said before saying, so you have to join my crew if you want it back that much. You are starting to piss me off, Zoro said, but to his surprise Luffy just laughs and runs off, shocked by what's going on. Zoro said without thinking, hey, the base is the other way. Luffy stops, then he stretches out and said, gum gum rocket, then he shots past them, shocking Zoro. In a state of shock, Zoro says to himself, what in the world is he? Makino heard the question and knew that by the look on the swordman's face that he wasn't asking anyone in particular, but she answered by saying he is a dumbass that ate a fruit that many thought didn't exist. What is that supposed to mean? Zoro asked. You will find out if you join, so don't worry about Luffy, he might say it, but he doesn't mean it, Makino said. Yuki looks towards Makino and asks, so how long do you think it will be before Luffy causes trouble? Makino pretends to think before replying, considering this is Luffy we are talking about, I would say 5 to 10 minutes. So, I have been holding it in, but I am too curious, so I have to ask, what's up with the furry female? Zoro asked. Makino and Yuki look at each other and the latter replied, I ate a devil fruit that gave me this anthro form. Oh, I slightly get it, Zoro said. Meanwhile, Luffy was running in front of the base and said, that weird, there's nobody here and I need to know where that idiot is if I want to get Zoro's sword back to him. Then he looks up and sees something, then said, huh, what's that? Well, only one, wait. No, then he stretches his arms and when they reach the roof he says, gum gum rocket, then he flies up, but because of how high the building was he gained too much speed and zoomed past the roof, and as he did he said, whoops, that was too much power. Then he somehow sees rope and acting quickly he manages to grab it, and as he does he said, woohoo, got it, but the sudden pull caused the marines that was pulling the statue to lose their grip, and when the statue hit the edge of the roof it broke in two and the marines was gobsmacked, and Luffy said, I am so sorry about that. Then man with an axe as a hand, who was the captain of the base, shouted this in an order, I want you to seize him and hold him so I can kill him personally. Yes sir, came the marine's reply. Helmeppo then said, that's him, daddy, that the guy that punched me. Luffy got up in Helmeppo's face and said, hey, there you are, and Helmeppo screams and tries to run, but Luffy grabs him and continues, I have been looking for you all over the place because you have something I need and would like you to hand it over. Then he runs into the base while carrying Helmeppo. So of the marine said, no, Helmeppo. The captain said, don't let that man escape, he needs to be punished. Before anyone could do anything, a marine said, Captain, there is someone in the crucifixion yard. The captain then said, what was that? Then he walks over to the edge of the roof and sees Koby running to where Roronoa Zoro was tied up in the courtyard a few minutes earlier. Makino and Yuki just sighed when they heard the bang from the statue. Then the former said, well, there he goes causing trouble. Well, we both know that he can't go very long without causing trouble, Yuki said. Ain't that the truth? Makino said. Then she saw Koby coming over and said, hey, isn't that the guy that was with Luffy? Yuki looks over and then said, yes, it is. Wonder what he's doing here. Back inside the base, Luffy was running around dragging Helmeppo and he asks, I really need you to tell me where you've got Zoro's sword. Alright, I'll tell you, but can you please stop dragging me across the carpet? Helmeppo said. Luffy stops and said, okay, now where is the sword? That are in my room, which we just passed it just on the left, Helmeppo said as he points the way. Oh come on, you should have said so sooner. Now we have go back that way, Luffy said. As Luffy turns he sees 3 marines aiming guns at him. Then one of the marines said, don't move unless it is to release Helmeppo. Like hell I will, Luffy said. Then he holds up Helmeppo then says, though you can shoot me if you want. Helmeppo starts to scream and somehow says don't shoot, and when Luffy started to run though them, Helmeppo said move out he way and don't shoot. Meanwhile both Makino, Yuki and Zoro was shocked to see Koby trying to untie the tied up swordsman, and Hunter said, what the hell are you doing, kid? The captain of this base will kill you. Koby, who was still trying to untie the swordsman, said, I am aware of that, but I don't care, but I can't stand what is happening at this base, but now I understand what Luffy means. Zoro looks at Koby confused then said, what do you mean? Makino took that moment to say, I think I know what he is talking about, gaining Zoro's attention before saying, you see on Luffy there is a symbol on multiple parts on his body, and that symbol represents balance. Then kneels down and draws a symbol in the ground. He explains the meaning further in depth. After Makino finished explaining, Zoro said, I think I get it now. Take pirates and marines. Pirates are bad and marines are good, but at the same time you can get good pirates as well as bad marines. Yes, that's right, Zoro, Yuki said. Good to know, Zoro said, then turned to Koby and said, that stuff aside, I can't leave, I still have 10 days. That's not quite true, cause they are going to execute you tomorrow, Koby said, causing Zoro to look at the girls. When Makino saw that Zoro was looking at them to see whether or not it was true, she said, "Don't look at us." We got to the bar while Luffy was making a commotion, but judging how Luffy was acting, it could be true. Right, Helmeppo never planned on upholding his end of his deal, Koby said. Zoro was shocked by what he just heard and said he did that because someone wasn't going to uphold their end of a deal. "Well, that are Luffy for you," Makino said. "And now the Marines are mad, and they are dead set of catching Luffy," Koby said. "Yeah, we know with all the commotion that going on in there. I am surprised you have heard us talking about it. After all, it started just after you arrived," Yuki said. Makino gave Yuki a light slap on her head and said, "Well, sorry, we don't have fox-like hearing." "Oh, okay," Koby says while looking at Yuki, then turns to Zoro and said, "But no need to worry, I am not going to ask you to become a pirate. But I hope you help them." "What are you on about?" Zoro asked. "Well, you have a lot of strength you can offer them," Koby said, then quickly turns to face Makino and Yuki before saying, "Not that I'm doubting the strength that you two have," or Luffy then turns to Zoro again before continuing, "But that are a crew of 3 at the moment, even they might not be able to beat an entire base of Marines." "None taken, Koby, but you're right, the 3 of us might not be able to beat an entire base of Marines. Maybe we can if we had 1 or 2 people that are fighters," Makino said. "See, even Makino know that Luffy is the only one that can save you from getting executed, and you have the strength to save them from a similar fate," Koby said. Before anyone could say a thing, the captain showed up and said, "This is the end of the line for you traitors." "Oh, and how are we traitors after all? None of us work here," Yuki asked. "Doesn't matter what I say, is the law as such for the crime agents. Me, I sentence you all to death by gunshot," Morgan said. Meanwhile, inside the base, Luffy walks into a room and says as he looks round, "Now this room look like your room." Then he see 3 swords. "Bingo, there it is." Once Luffy was where the sword where he says, "One moment, there are 3 here." Then looks Helmeppo and said, "Hey weirdo, which one is Zoro's?" But not no reply. Then said, "Huh, guess he passed out." Then he drops him Helmeppo, and as he goes to pick up the swords, he glances out the window and sees a squad of Marines and armed and in positions to shoot Makino, Yuki, Zoro, and Koby. Down in the courtyard, Morgan said, "You lot have been pulling a lot of interesting stuff around here. So I have to ask, is this some sort of poorly executed coup, or did you conspire with the kid in the straw hat?" Zoro was the first to speak up by saying, "I don't know what you are talking about, because unlike you who hides behind a wall of expendable cronies, I fight my own battle." "We roar Noah." "Zoro, that is some strong word, and I hear that you are a strong fighter, but while under my care you are nothing more than a rat that we throw out with the garbage," Morgan said. Then he says, "All right men, take aim." Zoro looks down the barrel of the gun and think, "No, I can't die here. I still have to accomplish what I need to do." As a thought of a young girl goes through his mind. "Man, what do? I can't stop them, cause the bullets will pass through me, so our only hope is that the devil fruit that Makino ate yesterday can help us." Yuki thinks, "Who was in fox form?" "Fire," Morgan commands, and the men does as commanded, but Makino steps in front of the bullets with her arms stretched out, but to everyone's shock, then bullets went through her but didn't penetrate the. After a few seconds, the bullets was flung back. One of them just missed the captain's face. Luffy landed in front of Makino as if he was about to intercept something, but also had a shocked look. Slowly turns to Makino and said, "So you ate the gum fruit?" "What the just who the hell are you people?" Zoro said. Luffy turns to Zoro and said, "I am Monkey D. Luffy, and I am going to be the king of the pirate, and this is my crew," and points to Makino and Yuki. Zoro looks at Luffy and said, "You have to joking, do you have any idea what means?" "Of course I do. King of the pirates means king of the pirates. What more can it mean?" Luffy replied. "I know it might seem like it, but he is really determined to become the pirate king and obtaining the world's ultimate treasure that is known as One Piece," Koby said. "You got that right, and the straw hat represents that goal as it was given to him by someone that inspired that goal," Makino said as she remembers the day Shanks gave Luffy the hat. "I understand having something as a memento of a goal," Zoro says as he eyes up the white sword that was strapped to Luffy's back while the girl was going through his mind. Luffy takes the swords of his back and says, "Here is what I promised. As you can see, there is 3, and I didn't know which one was yours, so I took all 3 of them. All 3 are mine cause I used the style known as Santoryu," Zoro said. "Santo, what now?" Luffy said, all confused. Zoro sighs and thinks to himself, "This guy is supposed to help me get out of here," then goes on to say it also known as the 3-sword style. "Don't worry about it, Luffy. All you need to know is that Zoro need 3 swords for his style," Makino said to Luffy, who was still confused. "Okay, so what it going to be, Zoro? Are you going to fight with me, which will make you an enemy of the government, or you can get killed off execution style?" Zoro looks at Luffy and said, "What are you, the son of the devil? After all, if I don't choose your side, then I am dead on these sticks." "All right, you are joining my crew. This is one of the best thing ever," Luffy said, all exited, causing Makino and Yuki to giggle a little at how excitable Luffy can get. "All right, already now get these ropes of me already," Zoro yelled, trying to get Luffy's attention. Then the pirate captain gave Koby the sword, starts to untie the sword. Meanwhile, Morgan had just finished talking the devil's fruits. He said, "All right, if shooting them don't work, then we chop them." Then the Marines draws their swords and charges. As the Marine was charging, Makino says as she take one of Zoro's swords from Koby, "Move out the way, Luffy, we don't have time for this," then slices the ropes. With blinding speed, Zoro has all 3 swords and blocked the Marines, and then says to the Marines, "You move, you die," then looks at Luffy and says, "Now that I have fought the Marines, I am now a criminal, so I might as well become a pirate, but you should know this, that while I am with you, the only thing I will dedicate is to get stronger so I can achieve what I want to achieve." "And what do you want to achieve?" Luffy asked. "To become the best swordsman the world has ever known," Zoro replied. "Sounds good to me. After all, the king of the pirates wouldn't expect anything but the best," Luffy said. "So, if I have to give that up, then you must accept responsibility for it and have to apologize for it. You got that?" Zoro said. "Yeah, I got it," Luffy replied. "Good, so from this point on, whether I am a criminal or not, I will spread the man Zoro around the world," Zoro said. Not like that the main line wasn't moving. The captain shouted, "What the hell are you lot doing standing there frozen?" And after I gave the order to kill all 5 of them, causing the Marine to jump in fright. Not like how this man was treating his men, Makino said, "I have enough of this asshole, so I am going to use one of your moves, okay, Luffy?" Not really caring whether or not Makino uses his moves or not, Luffy said, "Fine by me." "Thanks, Luffy," Makino said, then turns to Zoro, then said, "Zoro, it would be a good idea to duck." Then she bring up her right leg and said as she does a roundhouse kick and stretches Gum Gum Whip and kicks all the Marines back. "Okay, mind telling me what you are?" Zoro asked as he was getting up. Makino, who was flexing her leg, and says, "We are just 3 people that ate a devil fruit." "What a devil fruit?" Zoro asked. "Looks like she does have a devil fruit powers, and judging by what just happened, I would say that she is a rubber person," Morgan said. "Captain, we don't stand a chance against them because we couldn't beat Zoro. And we know he doesn't have any powers, and we have no idea what the Straw Hat is capable of," a Marine said, and many other agreed. Morgan, who was mad, said, "This a direct order. Everyone that just showed cowardice, I want you to pull your gun and shot yourself. I will not have weaklings here." Luffy just started to run over, and Koby was saying, "Luffy, do us all of this island a favor and bring the Marines crumbling down." Luffy goes to punch Morgan but hits his axe hand, and the captain said, "You pathetic low-ranking insects, how dare you challenge my superiority?" "Oi, a Marine captain axe hand Morgan." Not impressed, Luffy said, "Nice to meet you, name Luffy, and I am going to kick your ass." The captain then swing his axe hand, and on the second or third he sings it down and make a small fissure. Then Luffy slams both of feet on Morgan's face, sending him flying. And before the captain could get up, Luffy had grabbed him by his shirt and starts to punch him while say, "You call yourself a Marine, but you just made my point to my friend." At some point though, the interaction, Helmeppo showed up with a gun and hold it to Koby's head, says, "Hey Stu Hat, stop and see what I've got," causing Luffy to stop. And when Helmeppo see that Luffy had stopped, she said, "Now if you value you scrawny friend here, then you wouldn't move an inch," which Luffy just give a big smile. Koby, who is scared out of his mind, saw Luffy smile, which forces Koby to find his resolve to do anything to try and accomplish his dream. Says, "Luffy, listen to me. I don't want you to stop until you have beaten this base and turned it into a Marine base that it should be, even if I have to die in the progress." "Okay, I can do that," Luffy said. The turns to Helmeppo and said, "You hear that? Your hostage is afraid I die for what he think is the right thing to do." Then a gun with his hand and said, "Now you have to ask yourself, do I feel lucky? Can I pull my trigger before he does?" As Luffy and Helmeppo was standing off, what no one noticed was Yuki was in her fox form and was sneaking behind Helmeppo. Then the late teen said, "Go on daddy, hurry up, you have the change to kill him," then was bitten by Yuki, dropping the gun. Morgan, who had got up behind Luffy, said, "This is the end for you as I fearless axe hand Morgan," unaware that Zoro had put a sword in his mouth. Luffy gathers some yummy powers in his finger, then said, "Darkness bullet," then sent a small projectile to Helmeppo just as Morgan was bringing down his axe hand, but he never got to hit the straw hat wearing teen as Zoro had attacked the Marine captain. And as Morgan was collapsing, Luffy said, "Thanks for that." Zoro said with his sword still in his mouth, "No problem, just doing my job, Captain," and Luffy just smiles in return. With the Marine, they were all shocked. "But what just happened?" On said, "I don't believe it, Captain. Morgan has been defeated." As the pirates was gathering, they were looking around, and Zoro, believing there was someone wanted to attack them for what they did to their captain, said, "All right, listen up. If there anyone here what wants to try and get revenge, then try it now." The Marines looked at each other, and what happened they did next shocked the pirates, caused the Marines throw their hats and weapons up in the air and cheered, and someone said, "Yes, we are finally free. Morgan's reign of terror if over." "Well, that was unexpected. They seem happy that their captain was beaten," Luffy said. "Maybe they were afraid of him for a long time," Luffy. Koby said. Zoro suddenly collapses, and Makino said, "What the matter, Zoro?" Zoro looks at his second in command and said in a weak voice, "Not much, just super hungry." After a couple of hours, Luffy, Makino, Yuki, Zoro, and Koby was in the restaurant that Rika's mother owned, and Zoro said, "I am stuffed. That really hit the spot, especially after 3 weeks I was ready to gnaw my bootstraps." "Are you really? Don't you're a lightweight," Luffy said as he continues to eat something. "What I want to know is that how you are still eating when I haven't eaten something in weeks," Zoro asks. "I guess it's that good, right, Makino?" Luffy said. I guess Makino said, then turns to Zoro and said, Zoro, don't mind what Luffy said, it's just that his and my devil turns our bodies to rubber, and if you don't have control he does, then you can eat a lot more than the normal person. Then turns to Rika's mother and said, thank you for doing this, Rika. Think nothing of it, after all you lot saved us by freeing us from the tyranny that was known as Marine Captain Axe-Hand Morgan. Rika, who was standing next to Luffy, said, you are the most amazing man I have ever met. Luffy looks at the girl and said, yeah, I know I am amazing. And I will be more amazing once I have obtained the legendary treasure that is known as One Piece and become king of the pirates. Oh yeah, and the best crew around. Speaking of which, how many others have you collected for your crew besides the three of us? Zoro said. Luffy looks at Zoro, and the latter said, you told me that you are in the middle of building a crew, so who else is on your crew? Nope, so far it's just the four of us, Luffy said. So, the four of us amounts to an entire crew, Zoro said. I am afraid so at the moment, Zoro. But you have to know that all crews start out small, Makino said. Zoro thought about it, then said, I suppose you're right about that, but please tell me that you have a ship. Sure, do, it's right there, Luffy said, then points to a small boat that was at the docks, and it was the only boat there. Zoro, who was looking out the window, said, you have to be kidding me. Nope, but don't worry, we'll have it in Amber's one before long, Luffy said. Zoro laughs and said, really, and how do you figure that out? It will have a big pirate flag onto, Luffy said as he took another bit out of something while thinking about the ship. Then he said, and I can't wait for it. Koby laughed a little, then said, I think Luffy was born without the ability to think thing though, like the rest. Well, you are half right, Koby, Makino said. Koby looks toward Makino and says, what do you mean, Makino? Well, he has never had the brain power to make plans, but then there is the fact that his grandfather used to take him to dangerous places to train him, and I think he hit his head hard at these places, Makino replied. I seriously can't believe I got tricked into having someone like him as my captain, Zoro said, which caused Koby to laugh, which got Zoro to say, and what is so funny? Koby somehow stopped laughing long enough to say, if it makes you feel better, then there are several women out there that have to put up with him more than you. Zoro gains a confused look and said, what are you talking about? Yuki knows what the young boy was talking about, turned to Zoro and said, we will tell you once we leave. Rika looks at Luffy and said, Luffy, what will you and your crew be doing once you leave here? Well, I thought that much was obvious. We will be going straight to the Grand Line, Luffy replied. Koby, who was having a drink at the moment, spit it out and said, have you completely lost your mind? There is no way that you are equipped to take the Grand Line 1 with only 4 members. Well, I have heard of it, thanks to travelers, but I never knew it was such a bad place. It's a lot worse than you may think, Rika, Koby says, before going on to talk about the Red Line and a legend about a town that was said to be dead center on it than the Grand Line, and how the only pirate king placed the treasure known as One Piece at said town. And when Rika is in bed, I hear from passing customers that any that goes in there doesn't come out alive because it is a massive battlefield. Some even calls it a pirate graveyard, Rika said. Luffy, not faced by what he just heard, said, well, that too bad, because that is where the One Piece is located, so that is where we are going. Zoro leans back on his chair and said, well, then I guess we have to live with it. What, you can't just agree to go straight to the Grand Line, Koby said. And why do you care where we go? You're not coming with us, are you? Zoro asked. Well, not really, but I still worry, and is it so wrong so care about my friends when they go to a place like the Grand Line? And I know that me and Luffy haven't known each other for years, but I still consider him my friends, and that make you 3 my friends as well, wouldn't you say? Koby said. Well, of course we are, even though we have to part, there is nothing stopping us from staying friends, Luffy said. Makino walks over to Koby and gives him a warm smile and says, that's Luffy for you. He has always had the ability to make friends with anyone and gives them the confidence they need to go for their dream. Koby thinks back to when he met Luffy the day before, then realizes what she was talking about, then said, that I am aware of. Makino nods and said, good, and because of what Luffy just said, you have me and Yuki as your friends, plus what makes you think that when we go to the Grand Line it will be still the 4 of us? What do you mean? Koby said. Well, even though Luffy said that we will be going to the Grand Line, but me and Yuki knows that Luffy has another ability which gets him caught up with something, and I know that at least one of those time we will gain another member, Makino said. That's right, Yuki shouted. Realizing what Makino was talking about, after all, it just happened with the island and gaining Zoro as a crew member. Koby said, right, and I would like to thank you for what you and Luffy just said, cause as a kid I never had any friends, much less anyone that will fight for me, so I never really fought for anything, but thanks to you 4 I have gained something, and that is no matter how hard it gets, always fight to achieve your dream, otherwise when you die you will have regrets, so now I am going to fight with all my might to become a Marine. Then maybe you should think about you little problem, Zoro said. What are you on about? Koby said. You spent 2 years with Iron Club Alvida, even though it was just a cabin boy. The Marines Information Network is one of the best, and they will find out about it. And you will never get in, Zoro said. I never knew that, Koby said as he gains a downcast look. Just then the doors opened, and the Marines walked in, and the one that is in charge said, hey, we have heard a rumor that you are actually pirates. Is the rumor true? You get, and I just added my 4th member, Luffy said. Well, we appreciate what you did for the island by beating the tyrant that was terrorizing us for years, and now that we know that you are pirates, we ask the Marines can let you do as you please, so instead of capturing you out of respect, we are going to ask you to leave imminently and we will not report you to HQ. Upon hearing what the Marines said, the people weren't happy, but Luffy just smiled and said that's fine, well looks like it's time to go, then turns to Ririka and said thanks for the great food lady, then he and his crew got up. Rika asked, are you people leaving already? Yes, we are so keeping an eye in the papers, and you might hear some of the adventures we have been on, Luffy said as he walks to the exit. When the Marine saw that Koby wasn't moving, he said, what about you, aren't you a member of their crew? And when he got no reply, said, well, are you or not? And he was unaware that Luffy had handed the bag he was carrying to Yuki. Then the Marine turned to Luffy, well, isn't he a part of your crew? Luffy ignores the question and said, I can tell you what he has been doing for the past 2 years. Koby turns to around shocked, unaware on what's going though Luffy mind, and thought, Luffy, you wouldn't tell them, would you? Then to horror, Luffy tell them about his time with Alvida, and when Luffy was next to him having enough on what Luffy was saying, he punches Luffy. Getting the reaction he was getting, Luffy just smiled and said, you just made a dumb mistake. Then he begins to beat the Koby. As Luffy was beating Koby, Makino walks up to stop Luffy from going too far, then whispers in his ear, so the Marines don't hear, you better stop now, Luffy, you have made your point. Luffy stopped to see Koby falls to the ground, and the Marine to say, get out of here now, we don't want you pirates destroying this place, it's obviously you're not crewmates, to stop beating the poor kid and get out of here now. As Luffy and his was leaving, Koby realized what just happened, and though you mean to tell me that Luffy said those things just to get that kind of reaction out of me, just to say that we weren't crewmates even at the end of our journey together, help me out. Then he get up and said, sir, permission to join the Marines, no matter what it is I will do it. As the Marine was thinking about it, another one walks up and said, sir, I can't say I trust, as there have been cases where Marines have actually been pirates. I suggest we do a background check first. Koby then said, no matter what happens, I will become a Marine. The lieutenant walks past Koby and says, I can't tell you how many Marines have been killed by pirates over the years, and this is a big step you are about to take, and with that being said, your permission to join has been granted. Koby turns around, salutes, and says, sir, thank you, sir. Down at the dock, the crew was walking down to their boats, and Zoro said, that was good acting you did back there. I wouldn't be surprised if the Marines also caught on. Be as it may, it should help Koby get into the Marines, Luffy said. And thanks to that we are leaving this place in a very pirate-like manner, as the town now hates us, Yuki said in her fox form. Makino looks around and said, I wouldn't be so sure about that. Before anyone could say anything, they heard someone shout Luffy. Then the 3 other members turned to see Koby and about half of the townspeople at the docks, and Koby saluted and said, thank you, Luffy, you have done more for me than I can ever thank you for. Zoro chuckled a little and said, well, that one for the history book, a Marine thinking a pirate. As the pirate crew sailed off, Luffy shouted, if you want to thank me, then become a great Marine, then come after me to try and capture me if I have been caught by then. Luffy, you really think I can be that great? Koby said to himself. Next to him, Rika was waving while shouting, come back and visit someday. Then the Marines somehow got past the townspeople, and the lieutenant said, all right men, we are about to do something that is against Marine law and will require a punishment, and that will be 3 days without food. Do you understood? Sir, yes sir, the Marine replied. Okay, then all hands salute, the lieutenant ordered. Then all the Marines saluted the small crew of pirates, then said to Koby, you have a great friend there. Koby looks to the Marine lieutenant and said, I know that, and he thinks I can become a great Marine, one that is capable of capturing him. Then he made a vow to himself, I know that we will meet again one day, and on that day I will be a Marine and will have a huge bounty on you, and I will bring you in. On the boats, Luffy said, now on to our next adventure. And I get the feel that all our adventures will be just as exciting, if not more so than this one, Zoro said. Makino and Yuki looks at each other, then laughed a little. Then the former said, well, Zoro, you have no idea what sort of trouble Luffy will get us into. As the pirate crew drifted around, Luffy asked Zoro, hey Zoro, is your dream, is it to become the greatest bounty hunter as well as being the best swordsman? So, what with this sudden question, Zoro asked. Not much, you know what my dream is, to become the king of the pirates, and Makino's and Yuki's the same dream, which is to be one of the girls that I intend marry someday, which will not happen until I meet someone special and marry her. Zoro was intrigued, but what the captain just said, then said to Makino and Yuki, and you two are okay with that? Yes, we are, and I have known who and what Luffy is capable of for 10 years, and told Yuki when she began to develop feeling for Luffy. Makino said, okay, so who is it that you are looking for? Luffy just shrugged and said, no clue, but I've been told that she is a mermaid and that she is royalty, and that she will be the first one I need to marry or anything else before anyone else. And who told you that? Zoro asked. The Sea Kings, Luffy replied nonchalantly, shocking the swordsman. That's a good one, but everyone knows that the Sea Kings are mindless monsters, Zoro said. Makino the spoke up by saying, actually Zoro, there are only two people that actually command the Sea Kings, and they are Poseidon and Joy Boy. Now Poseidon is always a royal mermaid princess, whereas Joy Boy could be any male, and right now Luffy is Joy Boy. And until he has had sex with Poseidon, something in his mind will stop him from fucking me and Yuki and any other girls that joins before Poseidon. And when she was finished, she and Yuki had a small blush. And how do you know that? Zoro said. Because I have an ability that the Sea Kings call the Ears of Sand, but unlike Luffy and Poseidon, the ability comes and goes, and luckily when a Sea King that lives near the island that we come from was teaching Luffy how to use his abilities and what responsibilities that comes from being Joy Boy. And he always made sure that I had the ability before talking to Luffy just to make sure he understood, Makino explained. Now I slightly get it, Zoro said. So back to my question, Luffy said. It's nothing like that. I left my village to find someone, but I couldn't get back and I had to do something to eat, Zoro said. Oh, so you're just lost, Luffy said, getting a laugh from Makino and Yuki. Hey, don't put it like that, Zoro said as he slammed his foot on the boat, causing the boat to rock and Luffy's hat come off his head and float away. Realizing what had happened, Luffy said, oh no, not my hat. Then both he and Zoro followed it. Zoro manages to catch the hat and hands it back to Luffy and said, here you, Luffy. Thanks for that, Zoro, Luffy said. No problem, but name, am I hungry? Zoro said. Hey, look, a bird, Yuki said. I know, let's eat it, Luffy said. Good idea, but how are we going to get it? Zoro said. Like this, Luffy said, then stretches out and grabs the top of the mast. The said gum rocket then took off to get the bird. Well, that makes sense, Zoro said. The moment Luffy was by the bird caught him in his beak, then began to fly off. When Makino and the rest of the crew saw this, Makino said, well, Zoro, are you ready? The next adventure then passed an oar to Yuki, and Zoro then as fast as could rowed towards where the bird was going. After a little while of rowing, Makino saw three people what was shipwrecked, and one of them said, help us. Makino sighs and mumbles to herself that just great to find a couple of people that are shipwrecked, then shouted, sorry, but we are in a rush, so jump in if you can climb in. What they shouted, but somehow manages to get in. Zoro said, I am surprised you three got on board. Are you trying to kill us? The trio shouted. Then one of them said, well, no matter, cause we are taking over the boat as we are members of Buggy the Clown's pirate crew. Not liking what was just said, Makino said, I don't have time for this, Zoro. Knowing better than to cross a woman that is worried about their partner, Zoro quickly said on it. After a quick beating, the members from Buggy's crew was now rowing the boat, and one said, we are sorry, we had no idea that the pirate hunter Zoro was on this boat, so can you please forgive us? Makino was annoyed because thanks to the three Buggy pirates they had lost sight of Luffy, and said, just keep rowing, as thanks to you three we lost sight of our captain, so if you know what, good for you, just keep rowing. Then turns to her crew. So, what now? Zoro said. Well, we keep to the cause, we know where the bird went and hope that Luffy is on the first sign of land we see, Makino said. As the three members of Luffy's crew was annoyed that they had lost their captain, that was chatting amongst themselves when one of the pirates that was rowing the boat asked, so what do we do now? I have no idea, because as soon as Captain Buggy finds out that the treasure we had was stolen by a girl, we will be history, one replied. You know it, the last one stated with a sigh. So who is this Buggy person you are talking about? Zoro asked. The three Buggy pirates look at Luffy's crew and see that they all had confused look. Then the second Buggy pirate said, wait, you mean to tell us that you don't know who Buggy the Clown? Nope, Zoro replied. Can't say I have, Makino said. Yuki nods and point at Makino and says what she said, as I grew up on the island that she and Luffy are from. Buggy the Clown is the captain of the crew that we are a part of, and a truly terrifying man that has eaten one the devil fruits. I see, well then keep rowing, Makino said, demanded. After a while a big shadow of a sea king swam under the boat, rocking it a bit, which no one noticed. Then it emerged, causing everyone the Buggy pirates to go into a panic, while Zoro took two of his swords out and ready to attack when needed, and Makino and Yuki looked at each other with a worried look, and they both thought, what are we going to do, because without Luffy here to talk to them the sea kings might attack us. The sea king went to attack, then it stopped dead as it felt something. Then it looked at the six people, then said, tell me, can any of you understand me? Shocking. Makino stepped forward and nods, then point to herself and the fox, then the sea king eye. Then carefully and said, judging by how strong I sense Joy Boy on you, that tells me one of two things. The first one is that you must have eaten the fruit that is meant for him, or you are close to him, and if it's the second one, then maybe you are one the lucky that has gained the ability to speak to us. Shocking. Both female. Deciding to see if what the two females was true, Makino said, what are you talking about, and how is it possible, as I was told that one has to be born with the ability known as the Ears of Sand? You must have heard that from one of the younger sea kings that doesn't know the whole truth anyway. I am sure that you know about the two rulers that only we obey, the sea king said, which got a nod from Makino. Then he continued, well, unlike Neptune, Joy Boy is releasing an aura that affects those close to him, and some of them, depending on how much they are around him, few can gain the Ears of Sand ability, and even fewer was lucky enough to be able to speak to us. I see, Makino said, then gain a thoughtful look, then asked what was that about the fruit that was meant for him. Well, to put it simply, some of the devil fruits are unique, the sea king said. Makino knew one such fruit, said, like the yami fruit. The Sea King nodded his head and said correct, the Yami Yami no Mai doesn't give the user its normal elemental transformation but a black smoky form as well as the power to affect gravity. And there is another one, but it has two names if I remember right. In its dormant state it's classed as a paramecia, but once it awakens it becomes a zoan. Okay, and what is the fruit if I may ask? Makino asked. I see why not the name of the fruit if anyone but Joy Boy. It is called the Gum Gum no Mai, and if Joy Boy eats it and awakens it then its name is Hito Hito no Mai model Nika, the Sea King replied. Makino's eyes went wide as it was the one that she had eaten, and her wide-eyed was only caught by her fellow crewmates. Then Makino asked, can the fruit awaken even if he hadn't eaten? The Sea King thought about it then said it might be possible, but I am not sure, only time will tell I suppose. Thank you for the telling me, and Yuki here, Makino said as she bowed, then said to herself, now to find Luffy. Well, the current incarnation of Joy Boy is that way, the Sea King said as he turned his body to where Luffy. Makino once again bowed and said thank you for your help. It's no problem at all, though it would be best that you don't tell anyone what you have learned here about the fruits, as it will put your life in danger as well as Joy Boy, the Sea King said before submerging again and swims off. Makino and Yuki look at each other as if to ask each other, and both nodded. Then Makino turned to the three buggy pirates, who was still in shock, and said, well, what are you three waiting for? Get rowing. The three buggy pirates jumped and said yes ma'am, then quickly began to row again. Zoro releases his sword and says, okay, what was that about? We will tell you some of it later, but we can't tell you all as not everyone can know what the Sea Kings know, but it will come out in time, that much I am certain about, Makino replied. Fair enough if you can't say that you can't, Zoro said as he sits back down. Then he asks, but mind telling me about that hat of his? There isn't much to tell, but that someone gave him that hat as a sign of a promise that Luffy said almost 10 years ago, Makino said. Do you think Luffy be fine? Zoro said. He will be okay, but he might get into some sort of trouble along the way and maybe get a new crew member once it is over, Makino said with a knowing smile while looking at Zoro. Zoro see the look and chuckles, then says fair enough, as that is how he got me to join. Meanwhile, on the island that Makino and the other are heading to, three men was chasing the girl, and one of them said, get back here girl with that map, as it belongs to us as we stole it first. Then all of a sudden there was an explosion causing everyone to stop and look up and saw a big head drop something. Then they heard someone yelling and it landed in the middle of the girl and the pirates, causing a dust cloud, and then the girl said, what was that just now? One of the pirates said, guys, I am not sure, but I think that was a guy fell just now. When the dust cleared it revealed Luffy without a starch on him, and he said, man, that was a fun ride, but at least I am safe now, but most importantly what just happened was awesome. The girl looks at Luffy and thinks, well, now him literally dropping and couldn't have happened at a better timing, then walks up to him. Luffy was looking down at his stomach unaware that the girl was walking up to him, and he said, man, I am so hungry. When the girl was next to him, she, wow, thanks boss, you came here just to save me, you are the best. Luffy looks at the girl and said, who are you anyway, as I feel like I have seen you before. The girl knew what he was talking about but didn't say anything, so she just ran away and shouted, well boss, that are all yours, so have fun. Hey, that girl is getting away, one of the pirates said. It doesn't matter anymore, after all we have her boss now, the second pirate said. You made a terrible mistake, kid, stepping in for your crony when you could have left her top fend for herself, the last pirate said. Luffy turns to face the pirate and asks, hey, do any of you know if there is any decent place to eat around here, as I am hungry? You don't get it, do you, kid? As of this moment food is the last thing you should be worrying about, the pirate in the middle said. Then he punches Luffy's hat off. Luffy watches as his hat goes up, then he gains an angry look, then punches the pirate that punched his hat off, sending him flying. Then he grabs his hat before it hits the ground, and as he puts it on, he says, you better not touch my hat. The other two pirates gain a look of shock, then shouted at Luffy, you bastard, now you are dead, then charges at Luffy. I don't think so, Luffy replied, then said, gum gum pistol, then extend his arms and punched the two pirates square on the face, then they both collapse. Meanwhile, on a balcony a few houses away, the girl was shocked to see that the boy that she got involved to save her skin thought, wow, he beat them in no time at all, maybe if I can get him to help me, if I can become his friend. Then she said, I have to say that was impressive, you beating those two bare-handed while that had sabers. Luffy looks over to the balcony and says, hey, it's you, what's that big deal setting me up like that, and how are anyway? The name is Nami, and I am a talented thief that only steals from pirates, so how about you and I team up, the now identified girl said. Well, that's a nice offer, lady, but I think I will give it a pass, Luffy said as he begins to walk away. Shocked that she was shot down just like that, Nami jumps off the balcony and says as she chases him, hey, wait a minute, could you at least think about it first? Suddenly Luffy's stomach growls and he says as he falls to his knees, oh right, I need to find something to eat. Well then why don't you join me, and I am sure that I can find you something to eat, Nami said. Luffy jumped up and said, wow, you really mean that? Nami didn't know what to say, so she said, yeah, I am. Then she thought, he may not be bright, but he sure is cute. Meanwhile, at another location inside a tent, a man with a big red nose asked, you came in here to tell me that no one has been able to the thief. Not yet, Captain Buggy, but I am positive that our men are in pursuit as we speak, one of Buggy's men replied. Okay, so can anyone tell me how this thief got in and take the chart? As you know, we are planning to enter the Grand Line and go on a rampage, so that means the chart is the key to it all, so why wasn't it properly guarded? Buggy asked. Well, you see, sir, we don't know, so it was out as plain as day like your nose, the pirate replied. Buggy eyes narrowed at what he just heard and said, what did you just say? What I mean was that it was pretty easy for her to find and take it, the pirate said. Buggy then goes over to the pirate, said, bastard, what was that comment about my nose? Then he got into then man's face and said, so was you trying to tell me that you find my nose funny? Is it that amusing? Well, do you? The pirate then shakes Huey's head his face as he can while he was sweating like a pig. Then he said, no sir, I don't, you misunderstood what I meant. Oh no, I haven't, as you was quite clear you find it funny, Buggy said. The pirate and it took a step back but tripped, but didn't waste any time getting up, so he scurried away, all the while said, please help me. Meanwhile, the other pirate that was on Buggy's crew was watching with a little scared look, and one of them said, well, this isn't good. He should have known not to mention the captain's nose like that. Yeah, tell me about it, and he is about to use his devil fruit power, another one said. Buggy made a simple gesture, and the pirate looked like something or someone was strangling him that was lifted of the ground. Then the captain said, now then tell me, who in the world am I? Captain Buggy, the pirate replied, all the while struggling with something. Good, now then tell me what happens when someone tries to deny me, Buggy said. Asked. They are killed by flashy death. Now can you forgive me, the pirate said, still struggling. Buggy let the man go and said, fine, now quit you groveling. I will forgive you for your slip of the tongue this time. But I want you all to find that, so you better not fail or else. Back with Luffy and Nami, who are now in a house and food on the table, and once Luffy had eaten something he turned to Nami, who was sitting on the table, and asked, so do you live in this big old house all on your own? I don't live on this island, but I am just staying here for the moment as Captain Buggy drove all the townspeople away, Nami relied. So, you are just a petty thief then, Luffy asked as he grabbed something else to eat. That's not nice, I am more than just petty, as I only steal from people that truly deserve it, pirates, so there is no reason to compare me to some petty thief, you hear me, Nami replied. Luffy finished what he was eating and said, well then you must be a good thief then. Well, I have a goal, and no matter how hard or how long it takes, I am going to achieve it, Nami said. So, what is your goal, Luffy asked. To earn 100 million berry, Nami said. That is a lot of money, so what do you need that for, Luffy asked. Well, now that is my little secret, and now with this chart of the Grand Line, that 100 million berry goal is finally within my grasp, Nami replied. Luffy then mumbled a chart of the Grand Line, then turns to Nami and asks, so you must be a navigator. Nami once again turns to face Luffy and said, got that right, as I am the most skilled one that you are ever going to meet. Really, that is perfect, Luffy said as he stands up. Then he asks, so then how about you join my crew, as I am looking for a navigator? Really, you mean it, Nami asked. Yeah, I mean it, so how about it be our newest crew member, Luffy said, all excited. No, Nami said with a bit of anger. Why not, Luffy said, all dejected. Because of what you have been saying makes me believe that you are a pirate, Nami said. That's right, I am a good pirate, as I made a promise to the one that gave me this hat that one day I will become a pirate, form a great crew, and become the greatest one there was after the last pirate king, Luffy replied. The one thing I despise more than anything, and that would be a pirate. There are only two things I like, and that is money and tangerines, Nami said as she slams her hand on the table. Oh, come on, be our navigator, Luffy said. I said no, and that is finally, now drop it. And one more thing, there is no such thing as a good pirate, Nami said as she goes over to the window. Right, and there is no such thing as a bad marine anyway, you're loose, Luffy said as he sits down and starts eating again. Nami looks out the window and sees two of Buggy's men, then turns to Luffy and thinks, well, I might be able to use that cute dumbness agents him, as he wants me to join. Then I gave a backup plan if he doesn't play fair. Then she says, alright, I might consider joining your crew, but you have to help me with something first. Luffy looks at the girl and asks, really, you mean it, so what do I need to do? Well, you and I are going to pay Buggy the clown a visit first, but before we do that, we need to do one thing first, Nami said as she pulls out some rope and quickly ties him up. Is there a reason why you tied me up? Luffy asked as he wondered why. Yes, it's just for show, as we need to get close to Buggy, Nami said. Well then let's go, as I am looking forward to meeting some other pirates, Luffy said as he walks up. Wait, there is no need to rush, as he won't be leaving for a little while, Nami said as she walked behind him with the rope as if she was leading him somewhere. Nami lead Luffy ton Buggy the clown. Once they were in front of the clown pirate, she pushed Luffy and said, I have captured the real thief, Captain Buggy the clown. The leader of the Buggy pirate said, not that I don't mind, by why do you have a change of heart, little girl? Nami hands the map over and replies, well, you see, I have been fighting with my boss more lately and I have had enough of it, so I thought I could use this as a way to join your crew. Buggy looks like he was getting angry when one member of his crew said, Captain sure does look mad, doesn't he? Yeah, he does. And you know what that means, don't you? He is about to use his devil fruit power, another member said. Really, he has divi powers, Luffy said to himself. Then Buggy started to laugh. Then he said, you say that you're fed up. I will say this, you are one amusing girl, so cause you can join my crew, as I like you. Then he laughs again. Nami smiles and thinks, sweet, I have infiltrated the Buggy pirates. And this just proves that pirates are dumb and easy to manipulate. A few minutes later, Luffy is in a cage and asks some guys, can anyone tell me why I am in a cage? Buggy and his men laugh a little. Then Buggy said, oh, it's a good day to be a pirate. Then he turns his attention to Nami and said, okay girl, what do you call yourself? The name is Nami, Captain, sir, Nami replied. Buggy turns to his side facing Nami and said, all right crew, this is an order. We are going to celebrate for our new friend Nami here for joining us, which get a lot of cheering. It wasn't long before everyone was having a good time, and Nami was with the captain, who said, what the matter, this party is for you, so the least you could do is eat and drink more. I appreciate his captain, but I like to pace myself as I am a bit of a lightweight when it comes to alcohol, Nami said. Buggy shrugs and said, ma, suit yourself. Then he takes a drink. This is perfect. Now all I just have to do is wait for chance to get the chart again, and maybe I am at it, I could swipe his treasure as well, Nami thought. Buggy laughed a bit, then said, all right crew, is this a flashy party or what? It was, sir, the crew replied. So, you know what that mean, it's time a Buggy bull, Buggy said. Then his crew started to cheer. Then 3 people ran off, and after a few minutes they came back. 2 of them was pulling a cannon, then they secured it, while the other one was carrying a red cannonball with the Buggy Jolly Roger on it. Then he put it in the cannon, then he said, Captain, we are all set. Good was all Buggy said. Nami, who was watching, had a bad feeling, asked, what are you doing with that? You will see soon enough, so just watch and see the awesome power of the Buggy ball. Buggy relied then to his men, said, all right, light it. Once the man lit the fuse, everyone waited and watched to see what will be the outcome. Then once the cannon fired, it took out the whole row of houses. At the docks, Makino, Yuki, and Zoro had arrived and saw the cannon fire, and Makino asked, what was that? You got me, I looked like a cannon firing, Zoro said. You're right, but that was more powerful to be a normal cannonball, Yuki said. Then one of the Buggy pirates said, that kinda looked like one of the captain's beloved Buggy balls. Zoro looked at the Buggy pirates, then said, Buggy balls, huh? Makino sighed, then said, well, if Luffy is on this island, that place would be the best place to start the heads to where the cannon fire was. Zoro looks at Makino as he walks behind her and asks, and how can you be sure that he will there? Yuki was the one to answer, because we know him too well that when there is trouble, he will somehow end up in the middle, whether it is because of his noble or something else. Back with Luffy and Nami, the girl was in shock at the damage that the ball did. Then Buggy said, well, now that was flashy, don't you think, Nami? Well, it was flashy, Captain, Nami replied. All right, now tell me, do you think that B can conquer the Grand Line with these balls and my devil fruit power? Buggy said. Of course you will, Captain, there is no doubt in my mind, Nami lied. Hey, what are you talking about? As it is my destiny to conquer the Grand Line, Luffy said. He heard the conversation between Buggy and Nami, then he continued, then once I have done that, I will become king of the pirates, just I have been told, well, a king of something, so I decided that it will be the king of the pirates. You idiot, be quiet, Nami said. Buggy, who was getting angry at what Luffy was saying, chuckled darkly, then turned to Nami, then said, well, now I can see why you are sick of him, Nami. You got that right, he thinks life is a big game and as such never takes anything seriously. I see, so how about this, I give you a Buggy ball so you can blow your old boss up, Buggy said, which got a confused look from Nami, but Buggy continued, and this can be a test to prove your loyalty to your new captain, which is me. Then he shouted to men, all right men, aim the cannon at Nami's old boss so she can blow him up. Yes sir, the men said. Then 2 went to move the cannon while another went to get another Buggy ball. Nami turns to Buggy and said, you know what, Captain, we don't have to finish him of now, so why don't we get back to the party and have fun? Buggy turns to Nami and said, this is a good way of having more fun. Then he hands Nami a box of matches. As Nami looks at the box, the Buggy pirates were chanting fire. Nami was looking at the matches. She thought, what do I do? As if I don't do this then I will be killed, but if I do then I am no better than I would be no better than Buggy and his crew. Now Nami light the fuse, Buggy said. All the while Luffy could see that Nami was a bit hesitant in doing what was asked of her, but Buggy said, hey, what do you think, you are light the cannon already? Hey, your hands are. This is what happens when you deal with pirates with half-ass resolve like you had, Luffy said. Resolve to do what exactly? Kill someone like it nothing? Nami asked. No, Luffy replied. Then what is the resolve I need? You need the resolve to put your life on the line, and don't worry, that ball wouldn't leave a scratch on me, Luffy replied and had a grin as he said the last part. Nami, who was still hesitant about light the fuse, didn't realize that someone was behind until he took the matches and said as he lit one up, hey you tease, allow me to show you how to light the cannon. As Nami realized what the pirate said, everything went in slow motion. That just before the pirate was about to light the fuse, Nami pulled out 3 bits of wood and creates a wooden staff and knocks out the pirate, and once she realized what happened, sorry about that, I don't know what came over me. Nami, what are you doing? Just shoot him and be done with it, Buggy said. What's going on? You're saving now? Luffy asked. Don't be such an idiot, Nami shouted at Luffy, then turned to face the pirates before continuing, I did this more for myself as I refused to go as low as these inhuman pirates. Oh, I see, anyway, thanks all the same, Luffy said. A pirate took someone I care about and so I refused to become one, Nami said. Oh, I see. Then once this is over with, maybe you can tell me who the pirate was so I can kick his ass, Luffy said. Then he sees then fuse was light, then said in a calm manner, well, Nami, looks like you were too late as the pirate had lit the fuse. What, that's just great, Nami said. So if I have it right, you think that we pirates are just inhuman filth, Buggy asked, then said, all right men, go and get her. Then 4 of Buggy men charged at Nami. Nami swung her staff and blocked an attack from one of the pirates, then ducked as the other 3 was about to cut. Then she headed to the cannon and catching a glimpse at Luffy and thinks, what is his problem? It's like he doesn't have a sense of danger, especially when there is a cannon pointing at him and the fuse is light. Nami got to the cannon and grabs the fuse, burning her hands, causing her to scream. Well, Luffy said. Then he watches Nami screams as she tries to put out the fuse, and before he could say anything the fuse went out. Then he saw 3 pirates was rushing to attack then Nami, so he said, Nami, look out. Nami looks behind her and sees the 3 pirates coming, so she closes her eyes as she waits for them to attack her, not seeing that 3 people showed up. Then she heard, well, Makino, looks like you were right. Of cause I was, as I said before, he has a habit of getting into trouble, Makino said. Also, you lot, you really should know that's not nice to pick on the poor girl, Zoro said. Luffy smiles then says, ha, Makino, Yuki, Zoro, you found me. Nami looks behind her to see Zoro and Makino then beside her. Hurt, are you hurt? Ha, Nami said, looking to her side to see Yuki. I ask you, are you injured? Yuki asked. Oh no, I don't think so, Nami replied. Makino walked over to Luffy and said, why am I not surprised that you are in a situation like this? Well, Makino, how I got here is quite interesting, Luffy said. Makino sighed and said, I am sure it is, and it probably involve her as well, and point to Nami. It does, Luffy said. Before Luffy could continue, Makino said, and you can tell us later. As Zoro was walking past, Nami thought in shock, so the crew he mentioned was these people, and it includes the pirate hunter Zoro. Just who is this Luffy? As Zoro was walking to his captain, Buggy said, so you're the famous Zoro. If you are here for my head, let me tell you this, you will have quite a struggle. I am sure it would if I was still a hunter. We are here for our friend, Zoro said. Well, that's a shame, because you see I am interested as killing you would bolster my reputation, Buggy said. If you try it, then you will die, Zoro said as he looks at the clown pirate. Buggy was twirling some dagger and said, not faced by Zoro's threat. Oh, is that so? Zoro sighed and said, well, at least I tried to warn you, and if you don't listen, then that is your fault. When Zoro and Buggy got ready, for a few moments they did nothing. Then Buggy rushed towards Zoro and said, die flashily, BTU. Zoro cut off his arm and leg. As Zoro looked at Buggy and said, that wasn't much of a fight now, was it? Then he puts his sword away. Luffy then said, wow, he was weak. That was a good fight anyway, Zoro. You have to be joking, Nami said in shock. Makino, who was looking at Buggy's body, thought that was way too easy. Something isn't right, as his men don't seem worried. Then she said, Zoro, don't let your guard, something ain't right. Then the Buggy pirate started to laugh. Before Zoro could ask what she was on about, he was stabbed. Then he said, what, how? Makino leaned over to Yuki and whispers when Buggy pulls the dagger out of Zoro. I want you to get him out of there the first chance you get. You got a first, mate, Yuki whispered back. Buggy pulled the dagger out and reattached, then said, it's the chop chop fruit. That is the name devil fruit that has given me this power, and because of that I am now a chop chop man, and now I can never be defeated by the sword. Wait, the devil fruit are real? I thought that they were stories that pirates told, Nami said. So, he is a chop chop man? That's kinda weird, Luffy said. If anyone here is the weird one, it's you, Luffy, for eating the mythical devil fruit, Makino said. Buggy said, I didn't go for any fatal organ, but it is a pretty serious would you have, so I guess that make me the winner. Oh, crap, this just did a 180. If we don't get out of here soon, the 5 of us will be on chopping block, Nami thought. Guess Makino was right, I did let my guard down, and that was a stupid mistake, Zoro said. Stabbing him in the back was a coward's move, Big Nose, Luffy said. You bloody moron, don't call him that, Nami thought. Makino knew what was about to happen if the rumors that she heard about Buggy is true, so she leans over to Yuki and whispers, forget getting Zoro out, we need cover. Got it, by Blizzard should do the trick, even though it not as blinding as Luffy attack, Yuki whispered back. I know, but does it look like he is able to use it or get to us, as he is the only one that can see, Makino replied quietly. Good point, so just say when, Yuki said. Buggy turns just enough to face Luffy and asked, what did you just say? Then he turned fully to Luffy, then said, what was that about my nose? Then he shot his fist at Luffy. Knowing what Luffy is capable of, Makino and Yuki wasn't worried, but Zoro was, as he said, Luffy. Luffy caught the dagger in his mouth and said, hey Buggy, if that is your best shot, then when I am out of this cage, I am so going to kick your ass. Then he bites down on the dagger a bit more, breaking it. Buggy just laughed. And you going to kick my ass? I am sad to say this, kid, but the 5 of you are going to die here, but that might go down to 3 if the 2 new girl join my crew, and I will do it by my own hands, so if you plan to do any ass kicking, you better get it done soon. Nami was getting really worried and said, and that we are so done for. Sorry Buggy, but our captain isn't going to die here, as he has someone very important to meet, Makino said. Yeah, what she said, so Zoro get up, Luffy said. What Zoro said, looking at Luffy. You better have a really good plan to get us out of here, otherwise we are dead, so what are you lot going to do, Nami said. Luffy said nothing, but Zoro seemed to have gotten the message and said got it. Nami, who didn't know what is going on, thought what is going on is nothing is making sense. This is another reason why I hate pirates. Buggy just lunged at Zoro and attacked him and then split when the swordsman went to cut his midsection, and the moment he did, Zoro jumped, though then when Buggy put himself together he said, "Give up, Zoro, your three-sword style has no effect on me, as I have already told you I had." Then he realized that Zoro wasn't there, so he turns and says, "Hey, stop and listen to me when I am talking." Zoro didn't listen and went to the cannon and went under it to make it turn so that it was pointing to the Buggy pirates. Then to Nami said, "Light it quickly." "Oh, what are you talking about?" Nami asked. "He means light the cannon," Yuki said as she gets ready to unleash a blizzard. "Oh, right, got it," Nami said. Buggy was shouting, "Wait, just wait, you can't light the cannon as it is still loaded with a special Buggy ball. I can't go out like this." Then Nami lit the fuse. Then the clown said, "I can't believe you just did that, you ungrateful little girl." Then it went off. "Yuki, now," Makino said. "Right," Yuki said as she sent out a gust of snow, then said fluffy blizzard, and it covered the whole area. Then Yuki went to get Nami and Zoro and asked Zoro, "I know you are injured, but think you can lift the cage?" Zoro think about it before saying, "I might, but he would have to be quiet as I would need to concentrate." Then he heard Makino say, "Okay, Luffy, if you be quiet until we are free, then I will make you our favorite meal." "Deal," Luffy said without hesitation. When Zoro was at the cage with a bit of straining, he lifts the cage, then with Yuki's instructions headed away from the disaster zone. Nami was shocked to see the famous bounty hunter struggling with the cage when she heard Yuki asked, "Hey Luffy, do you know that girl that has been following us?" Everyone looks over to Nami and Luffy said, "Oh yeah, meet Nami, our navigator." Nami said in a numb tone, "I am not sure about that, but who are you people anyway?" "We are just a group of pirates that came to collect our captain," Makino replied. Zoro manages to lift the cage and starts to walk off with Makino and Yuki following. Then Nami says, "I guess even a lowly pirates can have friends." Then she walks off. Meanwhile, back with Buggy, he was sitting in a shady place saying, "How dare those five mock me like that? No matter, I will consider this an act of aggression, a declaration of war." Then a beast walks over to Buggy and the captain said, "Oh, there you are, Moji." "Hey there, Captain, hope you don't mind if I take the hunter's head," Moji said. "I don't care, so be my guest," Buggy replied. Then the beast started to walk off. Back with Luffy and the others, they were now dragging the cage before Zoro collapsed. Then they all noticed a dog sitting in front of a store. Then Zoro asked, "What's up with the dog?" "Not a clue," Yuki said as she tuned into her fox form. All the while Luffy is getting closer to the dog. Then he starts to make funny faces at the dog, and when the dog doesn't move, Luffy turns to his crew then says, "Hey guys, it looks like the dog is frozen." Zoro, who crawled over to a pillar of the store, said, "Like I care, the damn thing can sit there forever." Luffy looks back at the dog and asked, "I wonder if it dead." Then he reaches out to touch the dog. Makino sees Luffy reaching for the dog, said, "Ooh, Luffy, I wouldn't do that." "Do what?" Luffy asked as he touched the dog. Then the dog attacked Luffy, who was repeating, "Get off." The crew was watching in surprise. After a few moments, Makino and Yuki both started to laugh, and Zoro shouted, "Luffy, will you stop piss bailing around and get serious?" Then his breath goes a bit shallow, then he collapses. Then he says, "I don't feel so good." When the dog stops biting Luffy, he goes to his original spot. Then Luffy said, "Damn mud." Makino and Yuki both stopped laughing to hear what Luffy said. And the first mate said, she sits down and leans on the cage, and Yuki rests on her lap. "You okay, Luffy?" "Yeah, I think so," Luffy replied as he sits up, and Nami was walking over. Yuki sees Nami walking over and said, "Hey, you're Nami, right?" Nami nods and said, "That's right, and for the record, I am not your navigator." "At least not yet," Makino thought before saying, "Yeah, I learned a very long time ago not to take what the knucklehead says too seriously, so if you don't want to be our navigator by the time we want to leave, then I will talk him out of it." "Thanks," Nami said. "So is there another reason you came over here, or is that it?" Makino asked. "Right. I came over to give you this as you lot got me out of a really sticky situation," Nami said as she pulls out a key. "Oh, good, it's the key to the cage. Did you really steal it from me?" Luffy asked. "Well, yeah, but know this, I only did it. So we are even, and now as far as I am concerned, we are now square," Nami replied. "Fair enough, and thanks," Makino said. Then as she goes to reach for the key, the dog jumps up and eats the key, causing everyone to look at the dog as he swallows the key. Luffy starts to strangle the dog, all the while saying, "Damn dog, give me my key back." Just then a man walks up to see what Luffy was doing and shouted, "Hey, stop that, stop picking on poor Shushu, put him down and leave him alone." Then he walks up to the group of five. When the man was close enough, the swordsman looked up and asked, "And who are you, old man?" "Old man, I just so happen to be the mayor of this town. But the question is, who are you lot and why are you picking and Shushu?" The man replied. Then he sees Zoro's wound. Then he says, "Never mind that, you have a pretty serious wound you have there, and seeing I take it you had a run-in with Buggy the clown, need to get a doctor." Then he turned to one of the human girls and asked, "Mind if you give me a hand? Seeing as he is a part of our crew." "I will do it," Makino said as she helped the mayor move Zoro across the road and into a house. After a while, the mayor came out and Luffy asked, "So how is Zoro?" "I must say your friend is very resilient, as I told him that he needs to see a doctor. But he said that he was fine and just need to sleep," the mayor replied. Nami walked over to the dog to pet him, and as she did ask, "So the dog's name is Shushu?" "That's right, it is," the mayor replied. Why is he just sitting there like that? Is he lazy or what? Luffy asked. Not as a matter of fact, he's guarding the store, the mayor said. How all the girls said before Nami said guarding the store. That's correct, see for yourself, mayor replied. Everyone turned around to look at the store, then Makino said, oh I see, it's a shop that sells pet food. That's correct, and the man that used to own the shop was a very close friend of mine, the mayor said. Then he heads in and comes out with a bowl of food for Shushu. Then as he places it in front of Shushu, he said, hey you go Shushu, and as Shushu was eating, the mayor continued, and when he passed I assumed the responsibility of taking care of Shushu here. So, I take it the man died, Makino asked. That's right, it was 3 months ago after fighting an illness that he had for a very long time, the mayor said. Don't tell us that Shushu is waiting for his master to return, Nami asked. To anyone that would appear to be the case, the mayor said, and as he sits on a step he said, but I don't think that is true. What do you mean, Nami said. You see, Shushu is a smart dog, so he probably knows that his master isn't coming back, the mayor said. You're right, he does know that, and he knew it from the start, Yuki said. How do you know that, the mayor asked. That is simple, I am a fox that ate a devil fruit that turns me human, Yuki said, revealing some of her power. I see, and because of that you can act as an animal translator, the mayor asked. Right, Yuki said. What, he knew for 3 months, so why does he stay, Nami said. Maybe he has a connection to it, the mayor said. Then he takes a puff on his pipe that he lit before continued, it's his treasure, and so he is guarding it. His master used to live in this shop, hence why he protects it. I have tried to take him back to mine so he would be out in the elements, BTU he won't move from that spot. Then he turns to Yuki and said, isn't that right? Before the fox girl could reply there was loud thumping sounds along with snarling, and Nami asked, what is that sound? Then the mayor started to panic before saying, that's him, that's the beast tamer, Moji, we have to go now, run. What do you mean, beast tamer? Makino asked, but the mayor didn't answer as he ran on with Nami following, and with a sigh Makino looks at Luffy and asked, so what do we do, Luffy? Go with them and make sure they are all right, as I can't go anywhere at the moment, Luffy replied. Right, Makino said, then turned to Yuki and said, come on Yuki, and the fox followed her. Luffy turned his attention to Shushu and said, come on puppy, something is here, so why don't you give me the key back? Then a shadow was cast over the caged boy, and the boy looks up to see a lion and someone was riding it. Moji looks at Luffy and said, I see your friends have abandoned you, and just after you all escaped as well. Who the heck are you, Luffy asked. Well, seeing as you asked, I am known as the Beast Tamer, Moji, and I am also a member of the Buggy Pirates, Moji replied. Luffy laid down and said, that's cool, also that is a weird animal suit you have on. Upon hearing what Luffy said, Moji got angry, then he shouted, now that was just rude. I will have you know this is manly hair. Is that so? Then that is just weirder, Luffy said. Getting more pissed, Moji said, just don't assume that you are safe just because you are trapped in the cage. Then he gets of the lion and walks over to Shushu. You must not have heard of my terrible skill, because there isn't a beast that I the great beast tamer Moji can't bend to his bidding. Once he was in front of Shushu, he kneels down then says shake, but Shushu wasn't having any of it and bite Moji, causing Luffy to laugh. When Moji got Shushu of him, he turned to Luffy and said, now you nameless thief, I have no interest in you, but the bounty hunter Roronoa Zoro on the other hand is another matter, so tell me where is he before I change my mind. Like you could hurt me, so no way, Luffy said. So be it, Moji said before shouting Richie attack him. Then the lion leaped at Luffy, but he missed, breaking the cage, freeing Luffy. Luffy, who was free, shouted, all right, I am free. Then the lion swiped at him, sending him into a house. Good boy, Richie, that is some fine work. Now let's go and find Zoro and defeat him so my reputation will grow, Moji said. But when Richie didn't move, he asked, what's wrong, Richie? Then he realized what was wrong and said, oh, it's a pet food store, all right. But make it quick, Richie, we have things to do. Then as the lion was heading to the shop, Moji see Shushu guarding the store, then said, don't tell me that this little thing is going to guard the shop, it's pathetic. Then Shushu started to bark. With Luffy, he was getting up and he was saying, well, that was intense, but at least now I am out of that cage. Now the first thing I am going to do is teach those buggy pirates a lesson. Then I talked Nami into being my navigator. Then Makino and the others showed up, and when Nami saw Luffy was alive, she said, hey, who did you survive that attack? Then the mayor asked in shock, you're alive? I guess I was lucky, Luffy said, as this was normal for him. Surviving an attack like that is not normal. I figured you would be scattered, but you're not even hurt, Nami said. It's not normal. I guess I'm not normal then, Luffy said. Wait a minute, why did you people come here in the first place? Also, how did you get caught up with the buggy pirates? The mayor asked. Well, for me, I am looking for an excellent navigator for my pirate crew and a map of the Grand Line, but I have to go as that weird guy in the animal suit said something about looking for Zoro, so I will leave that to Makino and Yuki, Luffy said. He ran in the direction of the pet shop. Nami and the mayor looks at Makino and Yuki, and Nami asked, what was that about? Properly has something to do with Moji, Makino said. The mayor nods, then asked, so are you going to answer me or what? Okay, for the first question, me, Yuki and Zoro came here was because Luffy was carried here by a bird which he tried to catch as he and Zoro was hungry. And as for your second question, I don't know how he got mess up with the buggy pirates as he was already in the cage when arrived to save him, Makino replied. Then she goes on to say, though Nami here would know how he got in that situation with what she said before you arrived. Then she looked at Nami and said, so mind tell us how he got in the situation. Before Nami could answer, the mayor said, right, you expect me to believe that young man went to get a bird but the grabbed him and flew him here. So that explains why he fell from the sky, Nami said with realization in her voice. The mayor turns to Nami and asks, wait, you mean that was true? Well, yes, seeing as he landed in front of me after I stole the map of the Grand Line from Buggy, and to save my skin I set him up with some of Buggy's men, not realizing that he was strong. Then we chatted. He asked me to join his crew after discovering that I was a navigator, but I decided as I don't like pirates. Then as I looking out a window I had a thought and I said that I might consider joining his crew if he helps you with something first. And what was you going to do? Yuki asked. Well, before I end up in the situation that you found us and there was a party celebrating me joining the Buggy Pirates, which was a foe, as I was only there so I can achieve my dream, Nami replied. And knowing Luffy, he went along with it, not knowing what was really going on until it was too late, Makino said with a sigh. Hey, wasn't you worried about the situation he was in? The mayor asked. Nope, because we both know that the buggy ball would have done little to no damage to him, Makino said. Meanwhile, Luffy was watching Shushu, who was battered, bruised, and bleeding, howl as his treasure was going up in smoke, so he decides to deal with Moji and goes to block him. And the beast tamer sees Luffy. He said, what, how are you still alive? That swipe should have killed you. Please, like a swipe that weak could kill me. You will have to do much better to do that, Luffy said. Moji growled and said, Richie, this time I want you to crush him into the ground. Then he jumps of the lion, who charges towards Luffy. Luffy smiles, then says, alright, let's have some beast on beats action. Then he starts running toward the lion, then changes into his fox form. Then flames begin to encase him. Then he says, fox, fox, flame charge. Then upon collision there was a smoke explosion and a smoke screen. When the smoke screen cleared, Moji sees Luffy standing in front of Richie in his hybrid form. Then he asks, just what in the world are you? Who, me? I am just a person that ate a legendary devil fruit, Luffy replied. So, you have devil fruit power just like Captain Buggy, but yours turns you into a nine-tailed fox, Moji said while getting scared. Yes, that right, Luffy confirmed. Now wait a minute, I apologize for attacking. I don't want any trouble, Moji said as he now knows he is in trouble. Well, buddy, you are apologizing to the wrong person, but just so you know, because of you that dog has lost its treasure. The last this he had that was connected to High Late Master, and because of that I am going fry your ass, so I hope you can run fast, Luffy said as he turned into his fox form again. Then he lowers his fount and his tails go straight in 9 different ways, and the tips ignites. Then he says, fox, fox, 9 tails inferno. Moji sees the 9 blue sire balls coming at him and he says shit. Then he turned to run, but after taking more than 3 steps the balls of 4 got him, and as he was trying to put himself out, he ran into a wall, and luckily for him there was a bucket of water above him which fell on him as he ran into the wall. Luffy looks at the scene, then says, serves you right. Then he goes to pick up the box of dog food, then heads to give it to Shushu. As Luffy was walking to Shushu, Nami was watching the dog look at his late owner's store and said, pirates, they are all the same, just a bunch of heartless assholes, and they destroy, take what they want, and they don't care how they do it or who gets hurt in the process, and all this without remorse or a second thought. Then she see Luffy walking over to Shushu. Then she says, oh, I see you're alive. I was sure the lion was going to kill you, and I had wished he had, because then that way there would be one less pirate to worry about. Oh, like that is possible, Luffy said as he continues walking to Shushu. Nami then starts to run over to where Luffy was, causing him to stop, but she was intercepted by Makino, Yuki, and the mayor. Then she said, so how about I just kill before you can get a bigger crew? Then that way I am doing the world a favor. Hey, now this isn't the time for violence, mayor said. Luffy just continued him walk to the dog and said, as you are now like you ever could. Well, maybe I should try, Nami said. Hey, what did I just say? The mayor said. Then what the hell is up with you all? Well, with my crew, not sure about Zoro, seeing as he just joined us. If you have a day, then I will gladly tell you, and most of it is our captain's, Makino said to the mayor. Then she turned to Nami and said, and you calm down a bit and look, and points to Luffy and Shushu. Nami does what Makino said and stops struggling and watches as Luffy got to Shushu. Then he placed the box of dog food in front of the dog, shocking Nami. Then Luffy goes to the other side of Shushu and sits next to him. Then he says, here you go, I saved what I could. But the bastard of a lion ate the rest of the food. Nami was shocked to hear what Luffy said and thought, wait a minute, you mean to tell me he fought the lion so he could save the dog's food? Then not realizing it, she said out loud, just who in the world are you people? Still on her shocked state, Nami heard Luffy said, you fought well and be proud for trying to protect that is precious to you. Then the dog picked up the box of food and walked away, but he stopped, turned back to Luffy and barked. Luffy saw Yuki coming over and said to her, there is no need for you to translate, I get the gist of it, after all I am a fox. Then he turned to Shushu, then said, thanks and take care and the best of luck to you. Nami smiled at the interaction, then said, I guess not all pirates are bad. You're right about that, Nami. Ever since Luffy met a kind pirate as a boy, and since then he wanted to fulfill the promise he made to him, and the straw hat is proof of that promise, and he was also the one that gave Luffy his devil fruit, not on purpose, mind you, Makino said. You know a lot about Luffy, Nami said. Makino chuckled a little, then said, well, I should say so, seeing as he grows up on the island I lived on, and even before then be kept on saying that I will be one of his wives. Nami nods, then goes wide-eyed when she realized what Makino said, so she said, wait, wife says in plural. Makino nods, and the navigator said, and you're fine with that? Makino nods then said of course I am, after all I know Luffy and he has the biggest heart anyone you know, so I can say this with absolute confidence. If Luffy is around and there is a good soul in need of help, he will help out no matter what he has to do, and I hope that when we meet Poseidon nothing happens. Nami gains a confused look then asked who. To be honest, I have no idea who she is other than the fact that she is a she and a mermaid royal, Makino said. I see now. If you don't mind, I have something to do, Nami said, then heads over to where Luffy was still sitting, and once she was standing next to Luffy she said, hey there, I heard what you said to Shushu and that was kind of you even though you are a pirate, so here I am saying sorry for what I said to you. Luffy looks up to Nami then said that fine, I understand it, after all not everyone is going to like pirates. Then he stood up then said while he dusted himself off, you have been under a bit of stress so there is no need to apologize. Then the mayor said, I am pathetic Shushu, and the teen has fought hard to protect my town while I who is the mayor have done nothing but let Buggy the clown and his horrid crew obliterate it. Hey, chill out, it's not that bad, Yuki said. It not that I remember when we first moved to this island 40 years ago it was nothing but barren land and rock, but we all worked together to make the fields that we use for our crops and open stores for the citizens and for the travelers that pass by to rest and restock. We built this town literally from the ground up, and because of that this town is a treasure to me and all its citizens, and from here on out I will not let Buggy and his crew terrorize us any longer. Then Mayor said then there was an explosion and a block of houses was blown apart causing him to fall on his ass, then said he is going to destroy the whole town. Wait, wasn't Zoro sleeping in that house? Makino asked as she points to one of the now demolished houses. Realizing that Makino was right, Luffy shouted, "Ga, you're right, he was in there. After have something like that happening, I am sure he is dead now." The mayor, Luffy wasn't listening, went over to the demolished house and shouted, "Zoro, are you there and still alive?" When enough of the dust had settled, Zoro was sitting up and said, "Well, I have to say that is one hell of a way to wake someone up." Upon seeing Zoro was all right, Luffy laughed. Then Zoro said, "Not that I mind the wake-up call, I could have used a few more Z's." Nami looked at Zoro and asked in shock, "How on earth did you survive a blast like that?" "All right, you're alive," Luffy said. Yuki in fox form ran over to Zoro, licked him a bit, then said, "I am glad you survived." Then she started to like him again. "Yuki, will you stop?" Zoro said, trying to get the vixen to stop licking him. "That is the last straw. I refuse to let some scumbag like Buggy destroy what me and my townspeople spent 40 years building," the mayor said. Then he steeled his resolve, then goes to say, "I am the mayor of this town, and so it is my duty to protect and its people, and this I swear till I am dead." Then he tries to head to where Buggy was stationed, but Nami was holding him back. As Nami was holding the back from going to Buggy said, "No, wait, you can't go. There comes a time in everyone's life where they have to fight," the mayor said. Then he looks to where Luffy and his crew and asked, "Isn't that right?" "You have that right, old man," Luffy said. Nami, who was still holding the mayor, then said, "You moron, don't encourage him, it's dangerous for him to fight Buggy." "And you think I don't know that?" the mayor said, shocking Nami enough to let him go. Seeing his change, the mayor took off running, and he shouts, "Buggy, I am coming for you." The mayor was crying. Nami said, "You're right, he was," Makino said. "How he was, I didn't notice," Luffy said. "Well, it sure looks like the party is getting interesting," Zoro said. "You can say that again," Yuki said, which Luffy laughed a little. "Are you mad?" "This isn't a laughing matter," Nami yelled at Luffy. Luffy turns to Nami then said, "No need to worry, Nami, I have grown to like the old man, so there is no way I will never let him die, well, not on my watch. And as both me and Makino, when Luffy thinks of someone as a friend, he will help protect what they hold dear, so that mean we will be heading to wherever the clown is," Yuki said. Then she shifts into her human form and starts to walk the way the mayor was running while saying, "Well then, let's get going." "Right behind you," Zoro said, following the human fox. "Wait, you're going as well, but you're wounded," Nami said. "What do you expect when the wound to my reputation is far more deadly than the one that clown gave me?" Zoro said as he tied his bandana to his head. Makino smiles, then shakes her head before saying, "Well, there are things that are worse than death. Also, we need to get the chart of the Grand Line. So how about it, want to join our crew?" Luffy said to Nami while holding out his hand. "The answer is still no, because I will never sink that low," Nami said, then slaps Luffy's hand with a smirk before saying, "However, considering that our interests line up, I suppose we could team up." "That great, we have our navigator," Luffy said. Then he runs off. Nami watches Luffy run off to help the mayor protect the town. Then she realized what the straw hat wearing said. Then she shouted, "Hey, that is not what I meant." Then she slumps in defeat, then said, "Why do I bother?" Makino walks up to Nami, then places a hand on her shoulder and said, "That's because he likes you, and believe me, he is the best judge of character you will ever meet." Then Makino follows her captain. When Luffy caught up to the mayor, the old man was being strangled by Buggy's hand, so he grabs the hand and pulls the hand off the mayor. Then he turns to Buggy, still holding the hand, then said, "Well, Buggy, I am here, and I am going to kick your ass just like I said I would." Buggy recalled his hat, and when it reattached said, "Damn you, straw hat," and growls a little, then says, "How dare you? You can't just walk up to me and treat me like this." Luffy smiles, then says, "Oh yeah, well, I just did. I am Captain Buggy of the Buggy Pirates, and I will not stand for this insult," Buggy said. Nami sees an opportunity, then says, "Now listen to me, I am only here for two things, and they are the card of the Grand Line and the treasure." "I understand, and I will make sure Luffy doesn't bug you after this is over," Makino said. Good, Nami said. The mayor in a raspy voice said, you youngsters have to get out of here. Why did you follow me here? You are nothing but outsiders. You have to leave this to him. Yuki walks up to the mayor and helps him up, then says, sorry, but we can't do that because unlike most pirates, Luffy's heart is pure, and he saw that you truly treasure this town of yours and decided to help you do it. Well, this is my fight as this is my town, and so it is my duty to protect it, the mayor said. Luffy walks up behind the mayor and places a hand on him, then he slammed the mayor against a wall, knocking him out, shocking everyone. Then Nami went up to Luffy and said, I know I have already asked you this before, but have you lost your mind? Why the hell did you knock out the mayor like that? Luffy turns to face Nami, then says, just because. Well, I have to say that's not a bad idea, Zoro said. I'll say after all, if he had continued like that he would have died, Makino said. True, so it's probably for the best, Yuki said. That not that point, Nami shouted. At what is the point? Zoro asked. The point is there could have been a more humane way of doing it, Nami said. Well, if there is, then it's too late to do anything about it, Luffy said with a shrug, and walking a few feet away from the group then said with a grin, well, here goes nothing. Then he took a deep breath, then he shouted, hey Captain Big Nose, causing all the Buggy pirates' jaw to drop. Nami, who had both hands at her head in a worrying manner, thinks, why do I bother? He clearly has lost his mind. Then he said, that has got to be the worst possible. This you could has to Buggy the clown. Buggy, who was downright pissed, said, you damn you little punk, I shall not and will not stand for this. Then to his crew shouted, I want you to fire a Buggy ball right now. I Captain, the Buggy pirates replied before one of them ran off to get the red cannonball while a couple of the crew got the cannon ready. You idiot, why did you shout that to him? Nami said before running off. Zoro then said, come on you three, it's time to go. You can go, but I am not going, Luffy said. And besides, we will be just fine, Makino said. Now it's time to die, fire, Buggy ordered. And the marksman obeyed. As the ball was flying towards, Makino stepped forward and said, allow me. Then as she took in a large breath, causing her an inflate, she said, gum gum balloon. Then the ball hit her belly, it didn't explode. Upon seeing Makino inflate the Buggy pirates' jaws, and one of them said, what is she? What the, did she just the Buggy ball? Buggy asked while in shock. Due to the force of the ball, Makino was moved back, then the ball was sent back toward its rightful owner, and he and his crew was panicking, and upon collision the cannonball exploded and turning the building they was on into rubble. Alright, you got them, Maki, Luffy said. Zoro had a hand to his face and said, you could have warned me you was going to do that. What kind of monster are you lot? Nami said. Makino turned to Zoro and said, well, I had to something that would alert people of the legendary devil fruits. I think you three are beginning to freak her out, Zoro said. Nami walks over to the group and asked, what kind of people are you? You have a fox that can turn human and can create snowstorms. Luffy can stretch and turn into a fox. Then there is you, and you can inflate. We are just some good-hearted pirates who just want to adventure, Luffy said to Nami, then turns to Makino and said, I see you know all my moves. Well, what do you expect when you can use the Gum Gum no My? Makino said, then turns to Nami and said, well, that is my and Luffy attack known as the Gum Gum balloon. Yeah, well, I don't care what you call them, all I want to know is how you can do them, Nami said. Before anyone could answer, the rubble began to move and Buggy walks out unscathed as he was holding two of his crewmen. As Buggy stood there while holding two of his crewmates, he said, how dare you try and do me in and with one of my own Buggy balls. Nami scoffed and said, man, what a jerk, using his own men as shields like that. In the rubble, Moji woke up and then said, as stands up, what in the world just happened here? And then looks around and upon sees Luffy and his crew, he shouted, oh no, not you lot. Luffy just raises his hand and said, hi. It's that damn straw hat Captain Buggy, we have to be careful, he has devil fruit power, he is a fox person, I saw it myself, Moji said, shocking the clown pirate. What a fox person? Buggy asked. You're a fixed person, Nami asked. Actually, I am a Kyuubi, Luffy said. Kyuubis are foxes, Captain, Yuki said. So at least two of them are devil's fruit users, one is Paramecia and the other is a Zoan. That would explain how the green-haired woman bounced my Buggy ball back, Buggy said. Meanwhile, behind them the rubble began to move, and Richie came up. But he was knocked out as smoke was coming out of his mouth and someone was holding him who said, how do you plan to deal with this insult, Captain? Buggy then looks behind and said, oh Kabaji, I don't know, as at the moment I am too angry to think. Kabaji, put him down. What did you do to my Richie? Moji said, asked. You mean this cat? I used it as a shield, so my clothes won't get dirty of case, Kabaji replied before throwing Richie to the ground. Richie, Moji said as he rushes to the lion. Then he said, Rich, are you okay? Say something. Then when the lion came to and sees Kabaji, he hid behind a wall. Then Moji turned to Kabaji and said, damn you bastard. Then he tries and punches Kabaji but misses. Then Kabaji took that moment and kicks him toward Luffy and the crew, causing the beast tamer to say, out of my way. Luffy then changes position, and when the beast tamer was close enough, he said, I have a better idea, you get out of my way. Then he kicks Moji to the side and sending him into a wall. Captain Buggy, Kabaji said. What is it, Kabaji? Buggy said. Allow me to repay their disrespect, Kabaji said. Alright, you can, but you have to make it a good show for everyone, Buggy said. Kabaji smiles, then he takes off while riding a unicycle, impressing some of the unnamed pirate crew, and as he was riding towards them, he said, you may call me Acrobat Kabaji. And I am the chief of staff of the Buggy Pirates, and you will pay for your insolence. Then he raises his sword and aiming for Luffy. As Kabaji was heading toward Luffy, Zoro intercepts it with one sword while having his other hand on another and said, I'll clash sword with you. Well, it's an honor, roar Noah. Zoro, as a swordsman myself, I relish this chance to slay you, Kabaji said. Then he looks at Zoro's wound. Luffy steps forward and said, Zoro, you really should get some rest. Me, Makino or Yuki can take care of this guy. Just stay back, Zoro said. Kabaji, who was still looking at Zoro's wound, thought that's the stab wound that Captain Buggy gave him. The fool. Then he said, acrobatic technique, flame breath. Then he blows some fire into Zoro, making him take a few steps back. Then he took the opportunity and kicked Zoro in the stab wound, making the three-sword user yell out in pain and falls into the floor. Then Kabaji said, what's wrong? I didn't even kick you that hard. He fights dirty going after his injury like that, Nami said. I know what you mean, but that's pirates for you, Makino said, as she has seen the best and the worst of pirates from when she ran her former bar. Kabaji then hits the ground with the sword, then said, acrobat technique, murder miss trick. Then he started to make a dust cloud. Zoro then scoffs, then said, aerobatic technique, my ass, that's just an ordinary dust cloud. Then at the second he sees the sword coming at him and quickly raises his swords to block, but he didn't see a kick coming until it's too late and the kick made him roll on the ground. He did it again, Yuki said in her fox form. Now that's just pathetic, watching a grown man moaning like, but now you can see that it was foolish enough to become an enemy of the Buggy Pirates, Kabaji said. Nami, who was watching, was shocked at what she was seeing. Then she said, to keep fighting even with such a bad injury, he's crazy, and I have no idea how he is still able to fight with his injury. Then she turns to the crew and said, and why are you still standing there watching him when he is going to get himself killed? You know, all the while Zoro was holding his wound and Luffy was watching. He will be fine, Makino said. How do you know that? Nami said. Because before I joined Luffy's crew I used to own a bar, and every once in a while there was a fight, and some of the fights got really bad and seen some wound worse than Zoro's, Makino said. Or no, Zoro, you are finished, Kabaji said. You are annoying little bastard, Zoro said. Then he gets up, then continues, you having fun poking at my wound? Then go ahead. And Kabaji stabs him right where Buggy stabbed him. Ouchie, Luffy said as everyone else gasped in shock as Kabaji goes past Zoro. Why didn't you dodge his attack? Nami asked. Zoro ignores Nami's question and said, is that enough of a handicap for you? Then he turns to face Kabaji, then continues, now let me show you just how superior my skills are to yours, making the Buggy pirate eyes go wide. Alright, go Zoro, get him, Luffy said excited. Kabaji rolls forward sweating a little and said, you are a fool because you have made a fast error in judgment. I will not be mocked. My swords aim to the world's greatest, and I will refuse to lose to anyone that calls himself a swordsman, Zoro said. I see it's that resolve that keeps you going, but rest assured wounds as bad as yours are a great excuse for losing to me, Kabaji said as he raises his sword. To hell with that, to lose to someone like you even with these flesh wounds, then my future doesn't look so bright, Zoro said before putting his white sword in his mouth. Why you, Kabaji mumbled. Alright, yeah, go for it, Zoro, Luffy cheered. As Nami was watching, she then realized something. Then she said, I am not going to stay and watch this. You pirates can stand and fight and kill each other for all I care. I mean, I don't really care if you win or lose, so I am going to use the opportunity to swipe their treasure and then get out of here. And who knows, if you win this fight, we might team up again. So see ya and good luck with the fight. Then she runs. Okay, and thanks, Luffy said. Hope to see you soon, Makino said. See you, Yuki said. Back with the fight, Kabaji said, here is a taste of my ultimate acrobatic move. Then he pulls out a couple of spinning tops, then said as he threw dozens upon dozens of spinning tops, acrobat technique 100 top typhoon. Meanwhile, as Nami was heading to steal Buggy's treasure, she stopped and looked back to Luffy and the other, then said, they are not normal. Well, Luffy and Zoro ain't, Makino maybe not sure about Yuki. Then she took a few steps, then she said, I wonder if they can help me. Back with the pirates, Zoro, who was slicing through the spinning top when Kabaji said as he headed to a wall, acrobat technique height in the mountains. Then he started to go up the wall, then he was high in the air and said acrobat technique fireworks. The cool summer breeze. Then he aimed his sword, then said sting of the unicycle. Behind Zoro, Buggy began to raise his and the said chop chop cannon. Then his hand shot towards the swordsman. Then he shouted, Kabaji, I will hold him, you finish him off. Consider it done, Captain, Kabaji said. As Buggy's hand was heading towards Zoro, Yuki intercepted in her fox form, which made Buggy said, I'll let go, you mangy fleabag. Then Zoro dodged Kabaji's attack, then said, Yuki, you bitch, Buggy said in pain. Yuki let go of the hand. You don't know where it's been, Makino said. Luffy, who was facing Buggy, said, if you want to fight, then I will give you one. Zoro, who was panting heavily when Kabaji said, I can assure you I don't need my captain help to finish you off. You know what, I am getting tired of this, Zoro said. What, this is the great pirate hunter, Zoro giving up, Kabaji said while laughing before continuing, I have to say I am impressed you have lasted this long, this a wound like yours. I think you have misunderstood what I meant, because I am getting tired of was your stupid little sideshow, Zoro said. So sorry to disappoint you, so to make it up to you I will show you my real swordsman skill, Kabaji said before he started to head towards Zoro, then said, now die, Zoro. Onigiri, Zoro said as he cut Kabaji. Kabaji, Buggy said. I can believe the Buggy Pirates was defeated petty thieves, Kabaji said as he collapsed. We are not petty thieves, we are pirates, Yuki said, letting go of Buggy's hand as Makino went to check on Zoro. Luffy, I am going to sleep, take care of thing will you, Zoro said before passing out. Good, because I am looking forward to this, Luffy said as he faced Buggy. Buggy was growling for a bit, then asked, Yo guys are pirates? We sure are, and we are looking for the Grand Line, Luffy replied. Oh, that is a laugh, and that's quite a voyage one I don't you lot can handle, Buggy said. Then he asked, and what would you do if by some miracle you made it there, go on a sightseeing tour or something? Then he starts to laugh. Become the king of the pirates, Luffy replied, causing Buggy to make a funny face. With Makino and Yuki, they were both thinking the sightseeing tour might be a great day. You can't be serious, Buggy shouted. Then he said, if you're king of the pirates, then that would make me god. There can only be one pirate king and obtain all what the world has to offer. And that would be me, got it. You're annoying, so let's settle this, Luffy said. Buggy moved his, then all of a sudden knives appeared in between his fingers, and he said, seeing the hat brings back memories of him and it really gets my blood boiling, so bring it on, you wannabe pirate, and you remind me of him, that damn cheeky red-haired pirate. Upon hearing the hashtag red-haired pirate part, Luffy and Makino gave Buggy their attention, and Makino said, wait, what did you say, the red hair? You knew my old friend Shanks, Luffy asked. Yes, I knew him once, Buggy replied. Do you know where he is now, Luffy asked. I don't know, that all depends, Straw Hat, maybe I do and maybe I don't, Buggy said. Now knowing what Buggy was doing, Luffy gained a confused look and asked, what are you talking about? Did you forget where Shanks is? Which got a giggle from Makino and Yuki. No, I have not, you imbecilic, Buggy said. Then he raised his hands, then said, but I am not just going to tell you out of the kindness of my own heart. You will need to get that info. Alright, fine, I will make you tell me, Luffy said. Buggy then starts to laugh, then says, you can give it your best shot, but I don't like your chances. Then he taps his shoes on the ground and a knife pops out of the tip of it, then said, seeing as I don't think your Foxia can handle a blade. Luffy nods, then said, yeah, you're right, not knowing about Luffy's other powers. Well then how will you handle this, Buggy said before jumping, then said, chop chop buzzsaw. Then he flings his lower half towards Luffy, making Luffy jump out of the way. Then the clown said, can't do dodge while in air, can you? Too bad for you. That's what you think, Luffy said before he stretched and grabbed a pillar and pulled himself out of the way. As Buggy's legs returned to him, he said, you are full of surprising, but I didn't think stretching was a power of the Inu, and you know my model Kyuubi. That's because it's not, Luffy said with a grin. So there is more to the devil fruit that you ate, but anyway, you aren't that bad, Buggy said. Thanks, and you're not that bad either. Now here comes, Luffy said as he draws back his hand and said, gum gum pistol. As the fist went to Buggy, who easily dodged, then he said, you are a unique one, having an ability from 2 fruits, BTU. This one leaves you wide open, Buggy said as he pulls a knife up, unaware that Luffy's hand grabbed onto the tree that is behind him. He said, I will carve you up. Gum gum sickle, Luffy said as he was using the pull from his arm as it returns to normal to clothesline the clown pirate. Chop chop, quick escape, Buggy said quickly before he decapitated himself and reattached when Luffy shot by and hitting the rumble behind the tree, all the while laughing before saying, that's not enough. Luffy comes out of the rubble and said, you keep breaching apart. Meanwhile, off to the side, Nami was watching and had a big bundle next to her and said, what, they are still going at it? Of course they are. Luffy isn't one to give you zero when it come to helping people protect their treasure, and it's also who he is, Makino said as she remembers some of the one-sided conversation about Luffy and his role in the world with the Sea King that lives near their home. Chop chop cannon, Buggy said before launching his hand with knives in between his fingers, which Luffy caught. Then the clown said separate, then the hand detached from the forearm, shocking Luffy, and who barely dodged the attack as he flew back into the rubble, causing the clown to laugh a bit before saying, so Runt, do you give up yet? Then gains a pissed look. Luffy, who was sitting in the rubble, was looking at his hat, then looks at Buggy with an angry expression and shouted, you bastard. How so? Was I not supposed to starch your face or something? Buggy said. You bastard, nobody damages my lucky hat and walks away from it alive, Luffy said, making Buggy gain a confused face before Luffy shouted, this hat is my only treasure and anybody that touches it is going to pay. Nami, who was still watching from the side, looks at Luffy and remember what he said about the hat, then said, and here I thought there want anything that can faze him. There is very few thing that can, and one of them, if messing with the treasure of these he cares about, will definitely do that, Makiko said. Could he really help me if I asked? Nami thought as she looks at Luffy. It seems that hat has some history to it, Buggy said. That right it does, Luffy said. Is it really all that special? Buggy asked as he remotely moved his hand and aimed it at the hat before flinging a knife at it, but Luffy noticed it and dodges the knife. Then Buggy said, then in that case you should protect it before stabbing the hat, making Luffy gasps in shock as he remembers what Shanks has told him about the hat and how he got it while the hand went back to Buggy. The end. He said, how is this old tattered hat a treasure? Then starts to laugh before saying, treasure refers to sparkling gold, silver, and jewels, and all those things reflects their own grandeur, and you really consider this old straw hat to be a treasure? You need to grow up, boy. Before laughing again. Shut up, when Shanks gave me that I made a promise, Luffy said in an angry tone. What, you mean to tell me that this really is Shanks' hat? Buggy said. Then he throws it on the ground, then said, no wonder it looks so familiar, he always wore it for as long as I knew him. What, you and Shanks was on the same pirate crew? Luffy said in shock. Yeah, back when we were both pirates and in training we were fellow comrades, that damn detestable red-haired bastard, Buggy said as he stamped on the hat. Buggy reattached his head, then coughs a bit, then said, I can say what the hell I want. Luffy starts to pull on Buggy's cheeks, then said, tell me what the hell happened between you and Shanks, and where can I find him now? Then he lets go and said, damn, how dare you tear up my treasured straw hat. Buggy sits up and asks, do you really want to know? Making Luffy turn to face the clown pirate as he said, because he is the one person I loathe and will curse for the rest of my life, and as long there is breath in my body, Shanks, I will never forgive you. Then he looks at Luffy, then said, in all of my life I have never been as mad at someone as I am with him. How so? Luffy asked. That bastard Shanks stole countless riches from me. I don't know how you two are connected, but I will say what the bloody hell I want about him, seeing as I have earned that, Buggy said before telling Luffy what happened. Once Buggy was done telling his story to Luffy, the boy then said, so you're telling me that Shanks saved your life? Buggy got mad, then said as he made a pose, non, that's not the point, I am getting at it. It's not? Luffy asked. I think he mean when Shanks surprised him, causing him to swallow the devil fruit, Makino said as she heard the story. That's right, and because of what he did I couldn't even swim, and therefore go and get my sunken treasure, and then I had a revaluation. If I can't get the treasure that is in the water, then I will just collect the treasure that is on land with my new acquired chop powers. Then he raises his top half while saying, and now I won't let anyone that even think about touching my treasure live. Death to all that plunder my treasure. Then he shot past Luffy towards Nami, who was trying to get away with it, while shouting, get back here, you thief. Nami looks to see Buggy flying right toward her and said, shit, he spotted the ran away with the clown pirate following. Meanwhile, Luffy looks at the lower half of Buggy and off to the side. Makino noticed Luffy and said, he isn't planned to what I think he is doing. Yuki turns to looks at Luffy and said, he is. Meanwhile, Buggy was chasing Nami while saying, you don't stand a chance escaping from me, and now I am going to flashily chop you up. When Buggy was near, Nami closed her eyes to brace for impact, but when it never came, she said as opened her eyes, what, only to see Buggy with a look that said he was in absolute pain. Then he fell to the ground, then in a pained whisper said, my balls, that was a cheap shot. Luffy, who had a foot in between Buggy's legs, lowered it, then turned to the clown and said, don't run off yet, we are not. Don't. Then looks at Nami, then said, hey, you better drop that treasure and get out of here, you don't want him coming after you again. What, drop the money and run away? No way, I would leave my treasure behind, Nami said. Buggy, who was still on the ground, begins to growl, then looks up and asks, did you just say that the treasure was yours? Nami looks down at Buggy, then replies, that's right, I am thief that steals from pirates, and I just stole a lot from a really annoying one, and so that makes this my treasure, you understand? Ah, that makes sense, Luffy said. That's pure nonsense, that's my treasure, and just because you stole it doesn't make it you, Buggy shouted. Well, technically they are both right, and now for it to be officially her, all she needs to do it, get away, Makino said. You're right, Yuki said. Then she turns to Buggy and asks, plus did you steal it first? Right, and what is the deal? A chemical lecturing another chemical, Nami said. What did you just say? Buggy growled. Whatever, and another thing, the day I take a morality lesson from you will be the day I stop being a thief, Nami said before sticking out her tongue. Buggy then said, then I hope you are ready for the consequences. Now here comes. Then he begins to lift off the ground as he said, chop chop festival. Then both parts of Buggy split apart, making Nami cover herself and surprising Luffy. Then as the lower part of Buggy flew toward the upper half, the clown pirate begins to laugh, then said as he turns to Luffy, I would like to see how you are going to save your friend now, Foxy. Damn it, he broke up into even smaller pieces, Luffy said. Luffy looked down, Makino said as she noticed something in the ground. Luffy does what Makino said and sees Buggy's feet walking and quickly grabs them, then pulls one of the feet out of the shoe, then starts to tickle it. Then he pulls the skin before saying, see how you like this, as he slams the foot onto the ground, toes first. Fuck, Buggy yells before turning to Luffy and shouted, damn it, will you knock it off? No, you knock it off, Nami said before swinging the bag of treasure at Buggy. Buggy sees the bag coming at him and quickly summons his hands to catch the bag. Then he said as the bag was loaded, why thank you for giving me back my treasure, Nami. Nami begins to shack the bag to lose Buggy's hands before saying, let go, will you? I will not, so why don't you let, as this is my treasure, so get your grabby hands off of it, Buggy said. No, it's mine, Nami said as she was still trying to get rid of Buggy's hands. Just give me back my treasure, will you, Buggy said before one of his hands was rising, completely unaware that Luffy lad let go of his foot and was running toward him. Now die. Then his hand shot towards Nami. And I thought I told you haven't finished with me, Luffy said before jumping and kicking Buggy in the head, sending him to the ground and sliding on it with the treasure going everywhere, knocking Buggy out. All the parts flopped to the floor. Then he looks toward the clown and said, and consider that move payback for the mayor person. Nami gasping a bit, then she said, thank you for that, I owe you one. Sure, it's not a problem, Luffy said. Then he remembers something, then said, oh yeah, the map. The treasure, Nami said as they both looked toward where the treasure was and gasped in surprise to see Buggy had regained conscious and was floating just in front of the treasure. This isn't over yet, Foxy, Buggy said. God, he's still alive, Luffy sighed. Just shut up, Foxy. Also, how dare you try and flashily do me, and Buggy said as he floated above the treasure, in which Nami took the moment to run. Then the clown said, you will pay for that, before saying assemble chop chop parts, and when he assembled, he laughed a little. Then there was silence as he something felt wrong. Are you looking for these, Buggy? Nami said as she had a foot on Buggy's tied up body parts. Got my parts, Buggy shouted, causing Luffy and Yuki to laugh. All right, way a go, thief, Luffy said as he starched his arms back. No, Buggy said as he knew this wasn't going to end well for him. See ya, Buggy, Luffy said before saying as she starts reeling in his arms, gum gum bazooka. Then his arms shot past him and was heading to Buggy with his hand open. All the was screaming before he was sent flying. Once Buggy was gone, Luffy walked over to his hat and picked it up while his hair was covering up his eyes. Nami saw this, then said, sorry, your hat was torn up. Luffy laughed a bit, then said, don't worry about seeing as I can still wear it. Also, Buggy is gone, so for now, I am satisfied. Nami didn't say anything as she remembered how Luffy reacted to when Buggy damaged the hat, then said, if you want, when I have some free time, I can repair it for you. Luffy turns to face Nami and asked, what's that? Nami was about to say something before Yuki appeared and said she said you would fix the hat if you like. No, I did not. What I meant to say was I split Buggy's treasure into two, so can you give me a hand and carry half of it as it's a bit heavy for me, Nami said, hoping that it would distract the Straw Hat Boy. That sure is a lot, Luffy said. If anything, that clown Buggy knew quality treasure when he saw it, and now it's all mine, and I bet I can sell it for at least 10 million berry, Nami said before bringing the bags up and rubbing her cheeks on them before lowering them to the ground. Then hold out a scroll to Luffy and said, here, this is the chart for the Grand Line. You do want it? I do, and you're just giving it to me, Luffy asked. Well, you did save my life, so it's only fair, Nami replied. Then he looks at the map, then sighed. Luffy takes the map and said, thanks, Nami, you are a kind person, then turns around and walks over to Makino and said, I have it, the name to the Grand Line. I can see that, and before we go there, we will need a few more members for our crew, Makino said with a smile. Oh yeah, Luffy said before handing Makino the map, then heads over to Nami and asks, so are you going to join my pirate crew? And I told you that I will never join a pirate crew, Nami said before she gains a smile, then says, but I will tag along, seeing as hanging around you seems profitable. Yeah, I got myself a navigator, Luffy shouted. But I am only joining you because it's in my best interest, got it, Nami said. Sure, Luffy said before walking over to Zoro and said, hey Zoro, time to wake up. When Zoro doesn't wake up, he slaps his swordsman while saying, Zoro, it's time to go. Zoro wakes up with a groan, then as he stands up, he asks, did we take care of everything? We have Zoro, and now we have a map of the Grand Line as well as a temporary navigator, Makino said as she and Yuki in fox form walks up to her captain and crewmate. Zoro turns to Nami with an intense look before saying, I don't know about this, I feel lightheaded. Of course you do, it's always something with you two, Nami said. Oh Nami, you don't know the half of it, Yuki said as she knows thanks to Makino that Luffy will help those that needs help. What do you mean, Nami said. You will see soon enough, Makino said before turning to Luffy and said, Luffy, I think it's time to help the mayor. Oh yeah, forgot about him, Luffy said before turning to the mayor, then says as he stands up, guess we should wake the old man up before the pirate crew could take a step. They heard someone say, hey you aren't a resident of this village. Sure aren't, so who are you, Luffy replied. What was all that cannon fire we heard? Because it sounded like there was a battle earlier, so if you know anything please tell us, one of the villagers said. Oh good, they are just the residents of this village. For a moment I thought they might be more of Buggy's crew, Nami said. Then one of villagers saw the mayor and said, oh mayor. Then another said, say something. Can you hear us? Another one asked. He is out cold, a woman said. The pirates definitely did this, a man said. No, I'm the one that kicked the old man's ass, Luffy said, causing Nami so look at Luffy in shock and Makino and Yuki facepalming themselves. All the villagers turned to the pirates, all saying, what? You didn't have to tell them that, did you, Nami said. What, it's true, Luffy said. Then maybe you should explain the situation before they get angry, Nami said. I think it a bit late for that, Makino said as the Nami and Luffy turns to face the angry villagers. Tell me, why did you knock out our mayor and left him out on the street to die? A villager asked. Yeah, are you with the pirates? Another villager asked. They are getting really bloodthirsty, we can't let them know that we are thieves and pirates, Nami thought. We are pirates, Luffy said, making Nami collapse. Just as we thought, the entire village said while Zoro laughed. Better get ready to run, Makino whispered as Luffy walks towards and Yuki turns into her fox form and jumps on the vice captain's shoulder. Once Luffy was in front of Zoro, the swordsman said, looks like they aren't up for a discussion. Doesn't look like it, Luffy replied. So what do we do now, Captain? Zoro asked. Luffy just smiles and grabs Zoro's arm, then said run, before slinging Zoro's arm around his neck before the crew legged it with the villagers chasing after them shouting at them. How do you always make things worse, Nami said. It's a good town, Luffy said. Ho, what makes you say that, Nai said. Because everyone is mad just because of the old mayor guy, Luffy said as Nami looks back with worry. Then he goes on to say, and because of that I don't think they would lie. He is right, Nami, plus believe it or not he is a magnet for this sort of thing, and wait until he decides to help a friend, Makino said. Could he help me if I asked, Nami thought. We are turning here, Luffy said, knocking Nami out of her thoughts before noticing the rest of the crew turning. As Nami follows the crew, she said, hey, you have to let us know sooner. As the crew was running, they jumped over Shushu and Nami said in shock, Shushu. Doggy, Luffy said. Then Shushu started barking at the townspeople. So what's Shushu saying, Yuki, Makino asked. Shushu is saying you will not hurt them. I know they are pirates. They tried to help me, Yuki said. Later, Doggy, Luffy shouted with a wide smile. Why would Shushu help us seeing as he has no obligation to, Nami asked. Well, that's an ability Luffy has. He is able to become friend with anyone or animal, Makino said, wondering if it's a byproduct of able to command the Sea Kings. Once the crew was at the docks, Nami put the bags down and said while panting, that was close. We only made it because of Shushu. Why do we have to put up with this? Does it really matter? We are done here, Luffy said. Yeah, maybe so, Nami said. Hey, is this your boat? It's great, Luffy asked. It's nothing special, but it gets the job done, plus I stole it from some dumb pirates a few days back, Nami said. That's a big mouth you have, a voice said coming, which came from inside the Nami's boat. Makino and Yuki both recognized the voice, and Yuki said, oh great, not these clowns again. Then the three pirates that Makino, Yuki, and Zoro saved rose up from the deck, and the one wearing a hat said, we have been eating for you, you little thief. Bet you wasn't expecting to see us so soon, girly, the one that was on the left of the man wearing a hat, making Nami chuckle nervously. Luffy faces Nami and asks, you know these guys? Something like that, Nami replied. It's not like that, seeing as we are bound together by fate, the hat-wearing pirate said, then looks at Luffy and Zoro, completely missing Makino and Yuki. Are these your friends? Then they must take the same punishment as you, so it will be a reminder for taking other people's stuff. So are you the pot or the kettle? Makino asked. The three pirates turned to Makino, and one asked in a panicked tone, aren't you the woman that was with Zoro? That right, I am. And Zoro is the guy that the straw hat boy is carrying, Makino replied, causing the three pirates to run screaming, which Luffy just laughed. Back in town, the mayor came to, and one of the people said, hey look, he is waking up. As the mayor sat up, another one said, oh thank goodness he is all right. The mayor groaned as the man that was next to him asked, what happened here, mayor? The mayor looks around and sees the rubble and asked, what in? It was already like when we got here, and there was also a few pirates as well. But they ran off, so do you know what happened? A villager replied. Where are the young ones? The mayor asked. What, you can't be talking about the 4 kids and the fox? A villager asked. So they are alive? The mayor asked, then mumbles, the nerve of the kids treating a senior citizen like that, how rude. There is no need to worry about those pirates, mayor, we have already drove them out of here, a villager said. Right, but it's not enough, another villager said. As the villager started complaining and plotting about pirates, the mayor said, shut your mouth, I am the only one that gets to complain about those kids, and I won't let anyone else badmouth them, you hear me? What, why are you protecting those pirates, mayor? A villager asked. Damn it, they think they can just disappear, and that's that, the mayor said as he stands up and begins to remove his makeshift armor, then asks, where did they go? Well, it looked like they were running towards the port, a villager replied. The mayor begins walking to the port, still removing his armor, while saying, damn those kids, they can't just leave like that, I still have a lot to say to those kids. When the mayor reached the port, the kids had already set sail, and he shouted, hey young ones. Luffy turns around and said, it's the old mayor dude. The mayor, who was taking deep breaths and thought I was ready to die in despair, then he shouted, thank you. Don't worry about it and take it easy, Luffy shouted back. Damn you young ones, the mayor thought. What did you do, you idiot? Don't tell you left a bag there, Nami said. Sure did, Luffy said without a care. That bag was worth around 5 million berry, Nami shouted. That's right, and they are going need that money to repair their destroyed town, Luffy replied. But that was my treasure, you jerk. Do you have any idea how hard I had to work to steal it? Nami shouted before grabbing Luffy by the head and push him into the ocean. Zoro and Yuki were laughing at the duo's antics before Makino said, Nami, let him be it just how he is. He doesn't have a bad bone in his body. Also, Luffy, stop mucking around before you actually end up in the ocean. Okay, Luffy said as he became darkness and reformed on the boat. Once Zoro stopped laughing, he said, well, for better or for worse, we finally have our navigator. That's right, Yuki said. Then she turns to Makino and said, so how long do you think it will be before the next one will be? Who knows, Yuki, who knows, Makino replied. Okay, sadly the chapter is over. And if you enjoyed the video, just leave a like and subscribe with post notification, so when the next chapter is ready, you will be notified. Okay, see you in the next video. Bye.